Chapter 169, The Red-Robed Elder, and the other two were suspicious, but Lu Yong and Vivian exclaimed, "Yes, junior brother Lin knows illusions. He can definitely tame the snow wolves." Lu Yong shouted. Lu Yong then told them about the battle between Lin Xian and the one-eyed man. "If that's the case, we can give it a try," the white-robed elder said. After that, Lin Xian and the others caught a few snow wolves and let Lin Xian try taming them. Purple light flickered in his eyes, and an invisible soul spirit seeped into the snow wolves' minds. When the purple spirit eyes reached the third level, it was possible to use a secret technique that could control souls. With the help of the great dragon sword seal, Lin Xian quickly placed a slave seal in the snow wolves' minds. The snow wolves were tamed by Lin Xian, and they surrounded Lin Xian, wagging their tails. They were amazed, and their understanding of Lin Xian increased again. With the snow wolves, the carriage's speed increased, and it only took them 5 days to reach Ice Snow City. Lin Xian sat in the carriage with his eyes closed, and the little white monkey was lying on his shoulder. Lu Yong and Vivian were injured, and they were also quietly recovering. Lin Xian was the first to wake up. He spread his soul power into the storage ring and began to tidy up the spoils of war. Most of the storage rings were filled with spirit stones, elixirs, weapons, and martial arts, but Lin Xian didn't care about them. After a quick calculation, there were about 200,000 low-grade spirit stones and some recovery elixirs. After putting away the storage rings, Lin Xian took out a blue ring, which was the one-eyed man's storage ring. "I wonder if there are any ice martial arts." Lin Xian was looking forward to it. Using his soul power, Lin Xian sensed an independent space the size of a room. There were 5 big boxes, and all of them were filled with low-grade spirit stones. Lin Xian sensed that there were about 100,000 spirit stones in each box, and there were a total of 500,000 low-grade spirit stones. Lin Xian sighed. The one-eyed man's identity must be extraordinary. In addition to the low-grade spirit stones, there was also a box of mid-grade spirit stones, about 10,000 pieces. Lin Xian secretly swallowed his saliva, feeling a surge of excitement in his heart. Mid-grade spirit stones were much more precious than low-grade spirit stones. 1 mid-grade spirit stone could be exchanged for 100 low-grade spirit stones. However, under normal circumstances, no martial artist would exchange mid-grade spirit stones for low-grade spirit stones. Spirit stones contained in mid-grade spirit stones were relatively pure spirit stones. Not only Spirit Sea realm martial artists could absorb it, but also martial artists of the 3 spirit realms. Although they still had to be refined, it was still much better than low-grade spirit stones. Therefore, the value of the 5 boxes was much higher than the 5 boxes of low-grade spirit stones. These bandits must have killed a lot of people after robbing so much wealth. "I'm doing the people a favor." Lin Xian shook his head and sighed. Plundering was indeed the fastest way to gather wealth. There were other things, other martial arts, and Linzer's and he Shuez. He Xiansen found it. Lin Xian's eyes lit up as he stared at a cultivation technique manual. Ice Snow Mystic Art. It's actually a low-grade spirit tier art. Lin Xian was surprised. He didn't expect the one-eyed man's art to be so high level. "Luckily, I have purple spirit pupil and can use illusions. Otherwise, it would definitely be a fierce battle." Lin Xian was right. Although the one-eyed man's cultivation was at the peak of the 4th layer of the Spirit Sea realm, he wasn't weak at all compared to martial artists at the 5th layer of the Spirit Sea realm. Especially in this world of ice and snow, normal martial artists at the 5th layer of the Spirit Sea realm wouldn't dare to provoke him. This was a martial art for cultivating spirit power. Although Lin Xian couldn't cultivate it, he could get inspiration from it. He had the great dragon sword seal and could completely evolve it. Moreover, The art of longevity he cultivated was even more extraordinary and could transform into any attribute. Memorizing the ice-snow mystic art, Lin Xian followed the instructions and circulated his spirit power. A wisp of cold air overflowed from his palm. He placed his hand on the chair he was sitting on, and instantly a layer of frost spread at a speed visible to the naked eye. The snow-white little monkey shook its body and curled into a ball, lying on Lin Xian's shoulder. Lu Yang and Wei Wei were also awakened by the cold air and looked around in bewilderment. Finally, Lu Yang pulled the curtains tight to prevent the wind and snow from coming in, and then closed his eyes to adjust his breathing again. Lin Xian didn't say anything but continued to comprehend the great dragon sword seal, and at the same time quicken his familiarity with the ice attribute martial art. With the ice attribute martial art, his battle strength could be improved again. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, 4 days had passed. During this time, Lin Xian's cultivation broke through again, reaching the 3rd layer of the Spirit Sea realm. Compared to Lin Xian's terrifying attacks, his cultivation didn't attract the attention of others. However, if they knew that Lin Xian only used a little more than a month to go from the 2nd layer of the Spirit Sea realm to the 3rd layer of the Spirit Sea realm, their hearts would probably jump out. As everyone knew, the higher one's cultivation was, the harder it was to improve. A normal martial artist would need about a year to go from the 2nd layer of the Spirit Sea realm to the 3rd layer of the Spirit Sea realm. Of course, if one's cultivation method was high level or had the help of medicinal pills, this time could be cut in half. However, no one could be like Lin Xian, who only used a little more than a month. Seeing that they were about to arrive at Ice Snow City, Lin Xian didn't comprehend other martial arts, but worked hard to consolidate his own realm, allowing his body to quickly adapt to the cultivation. After a day, he opened his eyes. Outside the carriage, the snow wolves slowed down. Lin Xian opened the window and looked ahead. A huge black shadow appeared in front of him, like a huge mountain, occupying the land of ice and snow. That's Ice Snow City, the largest city in the Snow Province, and also the city closest to the snow-seeking sect, Wei Wei said, looking into the distance. The 2 carriages moved slowly and gradually arrived at the city gate. 2 black iron gates, more than 10 meters tall, were emitting a cold light. 2 rows of guards stood on both sides of the gate. Their auras were powerful, and there was a faint murderous aura. Lin Xian was surprised. The cultivation of these guards were all above the Spirit Sea realm, which was far from what the cities in the Cloud Province could compare with. After paying the spirit stones, Lin Xian and the others entered the city. The streets in the city were very wide, more than 10 meters wide, and there were countless shops on both sides. Although the weather was cold, the city was full of life. Hawkers could be heard everywhere, and most of them were selling delicious food. As pedestrians walked by, the tempting aroma hit their noses. Lin Xian and the others' carriages moved slowly on the street. 6 snow wolves led the way in front, looking mighty and extraordinary. Which force is this, to be able to tame snow wolves? A martial artist was surprised. All the martial artists in the Snow Province knew that snow wolves were demonic beasts that were very difficult to tame. Other than the Ice Wolves bandits, very few people could tame them. And now, someone was using snow wolves to pull a carriage. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, the 2 carriages drove into the distance. Someone went to the battle stage. Just as the crowd was envious of the snow wolves pulling the carriage, a martial artist shouted from afar. Immediately, the surrounding martial artists all moved and rushed inside. Lin Xian and the others were curious, so they got off the carriage and asked, "Brother, what happened?" Wei Wei asked. When the martial artist saw that it was a beauty, he laughed and said, "You guys just entered the city, right?" A large number of martial artists have entered the city these days, and there are often competitions. This time, It's said that the geniuses on the hidden dragon list are going to fight, the martial artist said, and left in a hurry. Let's go and take a look, Wei Wei said excitedly. Chapter 170. Lin Xian and the rest of the young people were quite excited about the hidden dragon rolls competition. They came to the 1,000 Treasure Towers stronghold in Ice Snow City. Lin Xian and the other two went to the battle stage in the city. There was no need to ask anyone. They just had to follow the crowd. Ice Snow City was huge. They walked for a long time before arriving. There was an arena that was dozens of meters long in front of them. It was crowded with people, and there were cheers from time to time. Lin Xian and the other two were in the crowd and looked at the arena. There were two martial artists fighting fiercely on the arena. The vast spiritual power vibrated, and the momentum was shocking. Both of them were experts on the hidden dragon roll. They had all kinds of unique skills. It could be said that it was a fierce battle. Until the end of the battle, the crowd was still not satisfied. Lin Xian also had some gains. He had a new understanding of some martial arts. After the two of them left the arena, another person quickly went up. It was a skinny young man. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. "Tsang Bao, it's Tsang Bao," someone in the crowd exclaimed. Lin Xian squinted his eyes and looked at the skinny young man. He knew this person. He was a disciple of the Tsang family in Guangming City. He was Tsang Lei's brother and the top expert in Guangming City. Whoosh! Another figure went up the arena. It was a young man with a pale face. "Let me see how strong you are," the young man said. "Tong Chun, you're no match for me." Tsang Bao's voice was cold with a trace of contempt. "We'll know after we fight." Tong Chen's eyes shone. "Tong Chen, it's him? His injuries have healed." Some of the surrounding martial artists cried out in surprise. Many martial artists knew the geniuses on the hidden dragon roll very well. Those who did not know quickly found out about the feud between the two after asking around. Suddenly, many people were very excited and excited. This was a fated battle. Humph! A sick person dares to fight with my brother? He's courting death. In the crowd, Tsang Lei sneered. The disciples of the Tsang family behind him also booed and hooted. On the other side, the disciples of the Tong family did not dare to show weakness and retaliated. Fight! 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 The surrounding cultivators shouted one after another. Their voices were like a tide, causing the void to tremble. In a pavilion far away, some of the older generation members of some forces were also paying attention. The elders of the Tsang family looked at the battle stage with proud smiles on their faces. Bao Er's cultivation has improved again, and he has reached the 5th level of the 7-layered Thunder Blade. He already has the power to be ranked in the top 40 of the Hidden Dragon rank. Tong Chen can't compete with him. Humph! It would be best if we could heavily injure that brat from the Tong clan and break the Tong clan's hopes. A bearded elder snorted. In another direction, the elders of the Tong clan were also watching. Chun Er's body has just recovered. I'm afraid it will be a little difficult for him to make a move now. Many elders were worried. The head of the Tong family sighed. Chun-Er has been bedridden for half a year and has long been dissatisfied. How could he let go of this opportunity? I hope Chun-Er can win, the elder of the Tong family prayed in his heart. On the battle stage, Tsang Bao sneered. We're no longer on the same level. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. After saying that, he stomped his foot and a powerful force burst out from his body. Blue lightning flashed and spiritual power swept out in all directions like lightning. Tsang Bao's presence was much stronger than Tsang Lei's, and he was at the late stage of the 4th level of the spiritual ocean realm. Another thunder element martial artist. Lin Xian's eyes flashed as he used his purple spirit eyes and looked at the stage. Take one of my attacks. Tsang Bao shouted as the long blade in his hand slashed out like lightning. Like thousands of lightning bolts, the 10-meter-long blade light turned into blue lightning and struck down. Star Scar sword art. Tong Chen's pale hand moved quickly, and the long sword formed a starry curtain in the air, which was extremely bright. Rumble. The blade chi slashed on the starry curtain and made a rumbling sound. Ripples appeared on the colorful starry curtain, as if it would break at any time. Luckily, the starry curtain successfully blocked the blade light. Since the first attack failed, Song Bao attacked again, and Tong Chen also counterattacked fiercely. The blade light was like lightning, and the sword chi was like stars. The spiritual power in the air shook, and the rumbling sound was endless. The two's speed was extremely fast, leaving behind afterimages on the stage. Some of the weaker martial artists couldn't even see their movements clearly, and only a few could keep up with them. Lin Xian's eyes flashed purple as he saw the two's movements clearly. He sighed slightly. Tong Chen is going to lose. Lu Yang and Wei Wei's soul power was extraordinary, so they could see the situation clearly. Wei Wei was confused, but I think they are evenly matched. Yeah, at least Tong Chen is not losing at all. Lu Yang was also confused. Some of the nearby martial artists heard Lin Xian's words and turned around. When they saw Lin Xian's cultivation at the third sky of the spiritual ocean realm, they all shook their heads and sneered. How could a martial artist at the third sky of the spiritual ocean realm understand the situation on the stage? He probably couldn't even see the two's movements clearly. Kid, don't talk nonsense if you don't understand. Can you see the situation on the stage clearly? Yeah, even we can't see it. What can you see? The martial artists all laughed. Humph. Lu Yang snorted and looked at the crowd with an unfriendly expression. He slowly spread out his soul power. A faint pressure appeared in the air. The crowd trembled and felt an indescribable pressure. Forget it. Lin Xian waved his hand. Lu Yang glanced at the crowd again and withdrew his soul power. So scary. What just happened? Why do I feel like my body is trembling? Some of the martial artists looked at Lu Yang in fear. They had never cultivated soul power, so they were naturally no match for Lu Yang. However, what made them even more terrified was that this person who made their hearts palpitate actually listened to a martial artist at the third sky of the spiritual ocean realm. And this martial artist, they were just laughing at him. Who the hell is this kid? The crowd looked at Lin Xian and felt a chill down their spine. Lin Xian ignored the crowd and said indifferently, one is attacking and the other is retreating. Tong Chen's aura is weaker than his. Plus, he has been suppressed for a long time. I'm afraid he will feel defeated. Secondly, their strength was on par half a year ago, but Tong Chen was sick for half a year, while Song Bao was improving every day. The gap between the two is bigger than expected. Thirdly, Tong Chen's star defense consumed too much spiritual power. I'm afraid it can't be maintained for a long time. But Song Bao's saber technique is like thunder in the clouds. The further it goes, the more powerful it is. Lu Yang and Wei Wei suddenly realized that they only saw the surface and didn't see too much. On the other hand, not only had Lin Xian grasped the two's martial techniques and cultivation, he had even taken into account their mentality and emotions. What kind of terrifying eyesight was this? The surrounding martial artists couldn't help but nod. They were even more curious about Lin Xian's identity. Sure enough, a moment later, there was a shocking change on the stage. The five-colored star finally couldn't hold on and was cut in half by the saber. Tong Chen flew out with blood at the corner of his mouth. Ha! Brother Bao is mighty! The disciples of the Tsang family shouted and cheered. As for the Tong family, it was silent. Their faces were filled with unwillingness. Song Bao's attack succeeded, but he didn't stop. Blue lightning flashed and turned into a dazzling saber light, slashing at Tong Chen, who was on the ground. No, the disciples of the Tong family shouted crazily. Chapter 171. The change in the arena caused an uproar among the martial artists. The disciples of the Tong family shouted angrily, but there was nothing they could do. Song Bao was too powerful. He was so powerful that they could not resist. In the pavilion far away, the elders of the Tong family were shocked. The master of the Tong family leaped up, and his aura exploded like a flood. However, Song Bao's blade was too fast. They were too far away, and did not have time to attack. They could only watch. The blade radiance was like lightning as it slashed down mercilessly. Lin Xian remained calm. He flicked his finger, and a wisp of cold air with a trace of sword essence shot out. At the same time, a white feather flew out from another direction, toward the arena. Boom, boom, boom. Frost's sword finger collided with the blade radiance and quickly froze. The sword essence destroyed the blade radiance. Swoosh. The white feather was like a sharp arrow. It collided with the lightning blade radiance and created a shock wave. A ball of energy exploded, and a strong wind swept out. Everyone retreated, afraid that they would be affected. Lin Xian's eyes flickered with purple light. He saw someone running up the arena, and he knew that person. He immediately calmed down. The light dissipated, and everyone looked over eagerly. On the stage, a young man dressed in white had appeared out of nowhere, looking very elegant. Tong Chen's face was pale, and he was in low spirits. The opponent that he had originally suppressed had now completely surpassed him. This change was something that he could not accept for a moment. In the pavilion far away, the elders of the Tsang family snorted when they saw this. The disciples of the White Feather sect are really meddlesome. The Tong family's kid is lucky to have avoided this. A few elders sneered. Song Bao's strength has improved greatly. I wonder if he can defeat this opponent? The eyes of the Tsang family's grand elder flickered, and he was looking forward to it. However, I seem to have sensed another person's attack on the other side. The elders of the Tong family heaved a sigh of relief. Their hearts that had been hanging in the air also settled down. It's fine as long as Tong Chan is fine. Xiu will be able to catch up. The master of the Tong family looked at the battle arena with a trace of doubt in his heart. Just now, I clearly felt an icy intent. Could it be that someone is secretly making a move? As a harmonious spirit realm warrior, his perception was far superior to a sea of soul realm warrior. Just now, he clearly felt two different forces colliding with the thunder blade, but he couldn't find the source of that force. Suddenly, he saw Lin Xian in the crowd. Could it be him? The head of the Tong family was shocked. Other than the White Feather sect of the Qing province, only Lin Xian could stand up for the Tong family. The head of the Tong family took a deep look at Lin Xian before slowly sitting down. On the battle stage, the white-clothed young man stood in front of Tong Chen and said in a deep voice, "Aren't you a little too ruthless? When sparring, it's inevitable to make mistakes. Isn't it normal to get injured?" Song Bao sneered. Anyway, he has been lying in bed for half a year. Even if he lies in bed for a few more days, there's nothing wrong with that. Tong Chen was so angry that his body was trembling. He clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails dug into his flesh. Blood flowed down his palms. The disciples of the Tong family were furious. They cursed and scolded, but no one could defeat Song Bao. This made them feel very frustrated. This guy is really arrogant. In the crowd, Vivian said angrily. Lu Yang was puzzled. He felt Lin Xian's attack just now, and that she made his heart tremble. Could it be that the Tong family is related to him? Do you want me to help? Lu Yang asked tentatively. No need. Just watch. Lin Xian shook his head. The White Feather sect should be able to handle it. Just as Lin Xian and the others were talking, the battle stage changed again. Tong Chen walked down the stage with a lonely face, while the white-clothed young man was going to compete with Song Bao. Ha ha, Wen Su, your ranking is mine. Song Bao laughed wildly. Wensu, he is the white feather flying Wensu. He's an expert ranked 47th on the hidden dragon list. The surrounding warriors were in an uproar. Song Bao had threatened to kill Wensu. What an arrogant attitude. Although Song Bao's strength had increased greatly, his ranking was still in the 60s. Now he was going to challenge Wensu, who was more than 10 ranks above him. This was definitely going to be an earth-shattering battle. As you wish. Wensu was dressed in white and looked extraordinarily handsome. He had an additional white feather in his hand, and his aura had become ethereal. Ha! 7-layered lightning blade. Song Bao roared as lightning surrounded his body. Countless bolts of lightning spread through the air and struck down continuously. Lightning flashed across the sky, producing rumbling sounds. The air was filled with a dangerous aura. Lin Xian exclaimed softly. He carefully sensed the lightning in the air, and there was a hint of surprise on his face. What a pure power of lightning! Lin Xian exclaimed in his heart, "This is nothing. I'll teach you a lightning Dao martial technique. I guarantee that you'll leave him in the dust." Lord Alcohol said disdainfully, "Really?" Lin Xian was delighted. He had asked Lord Alcohol for a martial technique more than once, but he had been rejected because his cultivation level was too low. Now Lord Alcohol had taken the initiative to teach him. Humph, you have the Wind Emperor's sword. If you don't have the corresponding Lightning Dao martial technique, your wind and lightning power will be incomplete. Lord Alcohol revealed the truth. I see. Lin Xian was enlightened as he calmly received Lord Alcohol's guidance. While Lin Xian was learning the martial technique, the two in the arena had already exchanged dozens of blows. Song Bao's saber technique was as fast as lightning. Every strike was like a lightning dragon, causing the air to explode. As for Wensu, he was like a small boat in a sea of lightning. He was constantly swaying, as though he would capsize at any moment. However, he managed to dodge every single one of them without any mishaps. Whoosh! The white feather in his hand flew out and pierced through the void, heading straight for Song Bao's glabella. The air was torn apart like a piece of cloth. Song Bao slashed out several times, forming a resplendent saber beam that struck the white feather. Ka! 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 The white feather looked weak, but at that moment, it was like a divine arrow shattering the lightning saber beam. Lightning sky strike. Song Bao slashed out again, causing blue light to illuminate the surroundings. A large blue bird formed from lightning flew out from the saber. With a flap of its wings, it released countless lightning bolts. With a long cry, the lightning bird flew towards Wensu, while Song Bao shot out like a bolt of lightning. Pong! The white feather pierced through Song Bao's afterimage and crashed into the ground. A thumb-sized black hole appeared. It was completely intact and bottomless. In another direction, the lightning bird pounced towards Wensu like a lightning mountain. Pooh! Pooh! Wensu's spiritual energy trembled as white wings condensed behind him. With a flap of his wings, he flew out. Hua! Could this be the white feather sect's secret technique? White feather spreading wings. Everyone exclaimed. Lu Yang and Wei Wei sighed. With such a secret technique, one could fly for a short period of time. This was something that all Sea of Soul Realm warriors dreamed of. Flying was a skill that only warriors above the 3 spirit realms could possess. And no matter who it was in the Sea of Soul Realm, having the ability to fly was no different from having an additional layer of protection. Lu Yang looked towards Lin Xian, only to find that the latter's eyes were slightly closed, as if he was asleep. He didn't pay attention to the situation on the arena at all. At that moment, Wensu's voice rang out on the arena. Let's settle this in one move. Chapter 172. The white feather behind Wensu vibrated and floated in the air. He took out a feather fan, and an invisible aura rose from his body. White feather kill. when Su fanned the feather fan in his hand, and a blinding light lit up, the surrounding clouds tumbled and shot into the sky. The shadow of a giant bird emerged from the sea of clouds. It flapped its wings and swooped down. 7-layered thunderblade, 5 blades in one. Tsang Bao also used his strongest attack. The thunder and lightning blade cut through the void, splitting everything. It carried an endless murderous aura as it slashed forward. The 5 dazzling blade lights merged, and the entire void trembled. It was as if the sky had split open, and it made people's hearts tremble. Rumble. A loud sound reverberated through half of Ice Snow City. The weaker martial artists nearby were all pushed back by the force, and some even suffered internal injuries. Lu Yang and Vivian conjured up a light barrier that enveloped Lin Xian as well. In the distance, the elders of the Tsang family all stood up and looked at the arena nervously. The group of martial artists also steadied themselves and craned their necks to look. Tsang Bao's face was a little pale, and his chest was heaving up and down. Obviously, this move had consumed a lot of his energy. On the other side, when Su landed on the ground with a complicated expression, who won? Everyone was curious. Vivian looked at Lin Xian and sighed. If Lin Xian was watching the battle, he would definitely be able to tell. However, he closed his eyes and remained silent. A piece of sleeve fell from the sky like a large snowflake, pure white and flawless. That seems to be Wen Su's sleeve. Finally, someone said with a trembling voice, "What?" Everyone was shocked and looked carefully. Sure enough, they found that Wen Su's sleeve was missing a piece. "You won." Wen Su sighed and turned to walk down the battle arena. "Brother Bao is mighty. Brother Bao is mighty." The disciples of the Tsang family all shouted loudly, and their faces were full of pride. Everyone was shocked, and they were even more afraid of Tsang Bao. If there were no accidents, Tsang Bao's ranking would definitely be in the top 50 or even top 40. The elders of the Tsang family heaved a sigh of relief, and their eyes flickered. If everything goes smoothly, our Tsang family will soon become the #1 family in the Qing province. The few elders were excited. Tsang Bao walked off the stage and did not continue the competition. He needed a good rest. However, the Tsang family didn't stop there. Tsang Lei's face was full of arrogance. He jumped directly into the ring and shouted, "Last time I beat up a few people from Yunzhou, but they were not convinced. Now, I'll give you a chance. I'll stand here and wait for you Cloud State warriors." Tsang Lei's words were insolent and arrogant. Everyone was silent. Tsang Bao's performance just now made them not dare to offend the Tsang family's disciples. The surrounding martial artists had strange expressions on their faces. Many of the newcomers did not know what was going on. I don't know why the Tsang family is targeting the warriors of the Cloud Prefecture. In the past few days, many warriors of the Cloud Prefecture have been injured by the Tsang family. So that's how it is. After understanding the situation, many people had sympathetic looks on their faces. The disciples of the Tong family all had gloomy expressions. They knew that the reason the Tsang family did this was because of Lin Xian. Humph, if Big Brother Lin was here, they wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. Tong Yu's face was full of anger. The disciples of the Cloud State in the crowd had bitter expressions. They did not understand why the Tsang family would target them. In the pavilion far away, the elders of the Tong family also sighed and shook their heads. The Tsang family's power has been established. I'm afraid we're in danger. Not necessarily. The head of the Tong family said in a low voice, "Lin Xian is already here." "What? Lin Xian, that kid is here." The elders' faces were full of joy. They did not forget the situation that day. Lin Xian used the cultivation of the second sky of the spiritual sea realm to shake Tsang Lei, who was at the peak of the third sky of the spiritual sea realm. He even faintly suppressed the opponent. If Lin Xian is here, he can definitely defeat Song Lei. Some elders were excited. So what? The Song family still has Song Bao with abnormal strength. I'm afraid that those who are ranked 45th on the Hidden Dragon list and below can't defeat him. The elders had different opinions. Some were happy and some were worried. No matter what, at least we can suppress the Song family's arrogance. This was the last hope of the Tong family. In another pavilion, the elders of the 3 sects of the Cloud Prefecture were all here. These people's faces were very ugly. Their disciples were all injured, and some were still lying on the bed. They've gone too far. Let's go find the Song family and ask for an explanation. An elder of the Lotus Glory sect suddenly stood up. Forget it. Wouldn't people like us be laughing at our Cloud Prefecture when juniors fight? An elder of the Purple Cloud sect said in a low voice. On the battle martial stage, Song Lei had a smug expression. With a command, he shocked everyone to the point that they did not dare to go on stage. This feeling was too good. Martial artists of the Cloud Prefecture, listen well. If you meet Lin Xian, tell him that I'm not to be trifled with. Tell him to obediently kowtow and admit his mistake. Song Lei's voice spread everywhere. Lin Xian? Who is Lin Xian? What did he do? The surrounding martial artists were puzzled. Chapter 173. Tong Yu's words enraged Song Lei. He could not wait to kill Tong Yu. He punched out with both fists. Lightning surged and intertwined into a ferocious thunder beast. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced towards the Tong family. Let's do it together, Tong Lan shouted, and the few people beside him formed a sword array. A shadow of an ancient sword flashed past, slaying the lightning beast. Humph, come at me together if you dare. I will play with you, Song Lei said arrogantly. The Tong family disciples' faces turned green. They had to work together to block Song Lei's attack. They were no match for him alone. Song Lei's punch stunned the Tong family disciples. He then looked in another direction. I heard that you are the number 1 of the younger generation in Yunzhou. Come and fight me. Song Lei pointed at a young man in the Yunzhou martial artist area and sneered. You are Zheng Jun, right? 88th on the Hidden Dragon roll. Zheng Jun's face changed. After he came out from the trials of blood, his strength had increased tremendously. He had finally reached 88th on the Hidden Dragon roll. He was considered the most powerful among the younger generation in Yunzhou. However, he did not expect that this ranking would bring him danger. Zheng Jun felt the terrifying aura from Song Lei. He had no intention to fight. The corner of his mouth twitched. Zheng Jun said in a low voice, I am not the number 1 in Yunzhou. I cannot represent Yunzhou. Oh, if you are not, then who is? Song Lei's lips curled into an evil smile. When the surrounding Yunzhou martial artists heard this, their hearts raced. They were afraid that Zheng Jun would throw the title of number 1 to them, especially those who were similar in strength to Zheng Jun. They were so scared that their foreheads were sweating. Lin Xian, he is the number 1 in Yunzhou, Zheng Jun said in a low voice. Since Lin Xian had offended them, and they could not find him, they could not do anything about it. As expected, after Song Lei heard this, the smile on his face disappeared. You dare to tease me? A sliver of lightning appeared on his body, throbbing violently. All right, don't make it difficult for them. I will fight with you. Murong Qianling stood out. Murong, don't be rash. Some people advised her in a low voice. She was not his opponent. Yunzhou disciples can be defeated, but they cannot run. Even if I lose, I still want to go up. Murong Qianling's eyes were firm. On the side, Wan Jianxing, Yuan Fei, Xie Changfeng, and the others' eyes dimmed. They had all been defeated by Song Lei a few days ago, so it was useless for them to go up now. Oh, there's finally someone who isn't afraid of death. Song Lei had a playful look on his face. Not bad, you're quite handsome. Why don't you be my bed-warming maid? Aquamoon soared. Morong Qianling's pretty face was cold as the long sword in her hand quickly pierced out. A crescent-shaped sword, radiance slashed out like a flower in the mist or a moon in the water. Too weak. Tsang Lei punched out with his right fist, shattering the sword chi. At the same time, it formed a giant hand of thunder and lightning grabbing toward Yi Fuqian. Morong Qianling's face was pale. The other party's strength was too powerful. She was not a match at all. However, it was impossible for her to admit defeat just like that. Morong Qianling's body floated and dodged unceasingly. In the crowd, Vivian looked at the stage anxiously. Since she knew that Lin Xian was a disciple of the Cloud State, she naturally didn't want any disciple of the Cloud State to get hurt. Junior brother Lin, why are you cultivating at this time? Vivian cried out in dissatisfaction. She naturally saw that Lin Xian wasn't sleeping on purpose. Instead, he had fallen into a very strange state. There was a cry of alarm on the stage. Morong Qianling's face was pale, as she was about to be swallowed by the thunder and lightning. Vivian clenched her teeth and prepared to make a move. At this moment, Lin Xian in front of her moved. He slowly opened his eyes as if he had just woken up from a deep sleep. The golden electric arc in his eyes was like a flash of lightning. Whoosh! His body swayed, and Lin Xian disappeared from his original spot. On the stage, the blue hand of thunder and lightning covered the sky and earth. It was incomparably ferocious and was about to grab Morong Qianling. At this moment, a golden bolt of lightning flashed by at an extreme speed. With a flash of golden light, Morong Qianling's body disappeared. Rumble! The blue hand of thunder and lightning smashed on the ground, and a terrifying pit appeared. There was even a trace of black smoke coming out from the surroundings. It didn't hit. Tsang Lei was stunned and looked around. Everyone was also stunned. Most of them didn't see what had just happened. Only Tsang Bao, Wen Su, and a few others saw someone saving Morong Qianling. Behind, the surrounding martial artists quickly shouted. Tsang Lei suddenly turned his head, and a cruel smile appeared on his face. However, when he saw the figure, he was stunned. Lin Xian. He gritted his teeth and said, "What? He's Lin Xian?" The surrounding martial artists were in an uproar as they looked at the young man on the stage. Not only them, the martial artists of the Cloud region, the elders of the Tong family, the elders of the 3 sects of the Cloud region, and various forces were all looking at Lin Xian. Junior brother Lin, you're finally here? Morong Qianling's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. Ever since Lin Xian participated in the trial of blood, Morong Qianling's identity changed from a teacher to a senior sister. This was the sect's rule. If Lin Xian entered the harmonious spirit realm, perhaps those disciples would have to call him martial uncle. Senior sister Morong, don't worry. Leave everything to me. Although Lin Xian was comprehending the lightning martial arts, he still left a part of his consciousness outside. Therefore, he was aware of everything that happened outside. Morong Qianling nodded and walked down the stage. Only Tsang Lei and Lin Xian were left on the stage. Everyone looked at Lin Xian and carefully sized him up. This was a handsome young man with a slender body and deep eyes. He was wearing a thick white bear coat, and there was a furry pet on his shoulder. Is this really the #1 martial artist of the Cloud region who injured the Tsang family's disciple? Everyone was suspicious. This is clearly a neighborhood boy. Lin Xian, you're finally here. I'll break your bones one by one and let you live like a dog for the rest of your life. Tsang Lei's expression was vicious, as if he was a demon from hell. Lin Xian's expression was cold. Since you want to live like this, I'll fulfill your wish. This expression again. Tsang Lei was going crazy in his heart. Pretend, I'll let you pretend. I'll kill you later. Hearing Lin Xian's words, the surrounding martial artists were also in an uproar. Although his appearance and cultivation didn't look like the #1 martial artist of the Cloud region, his tone and expression made everyone feel that the young man in front of them wasn't simple. After all, no one dared to offend the Tsang family now. In a pavilion far away, the Tsang family's elders snorted coldly. Daring to injure my Tsang family's disciple, I'll let you live a life worse than death. Directly suppress him and make him a slave of the Tsang family. The Tsang family's elders were very cruel. The Tong family's elders had a look of anticipation. They were looking forward to Lin Xian defeating Song Lei and dampening the Tsang family's prestige. The elders of the 3 sects of the Cloud region had a look of worry. Lin Xian's cultivation is only at the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean realm. I'm afraid he has no chance of winning. Maybe not as good as Zhengjun. After all, he's just a brat. Elder Shui sneered. He didn't want Lin Xian to win. The news that Lin Xian was still alive already made him very unhappy. Elder Duanmu took a deep breath, and his eyes shone brightly. No matter what, this time, we can't let Lin Xian suffer any harm. On the battle stage, Song Lei's expression was cold. The aura on his body kept rising, and blue lightning circled around him, making a rumbling sound. You've angered me. No one can save you. Lin Xian's face darkened slightly, and golden lightning arcs jumped in his eyes. Chapter 174. Can that brat really contend against Song Lei? He's only at the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier. I don't know. Cloud State's martial artist cultivation is generally low. This might be their strongest battle prowess. The surrounding martial artists looked at the stage and discussed animatedly. Zhengjun's face was gloomy. In order to avoid a battle, he casually put the title of Cloud State's #1 on Lin Xian's head. He originally thought that Lin Xian disappeared and wouldn't appear. Who knew this would happen? Now, he hated Lin Xian to lose immediately, or else he would go crazy. Humph, a bunch of idiots. Wait until you see junior brother Lin's strength. Don't be scared to tears. Lu Yang was full of confidence in Lin Xian. Ha ha! Song Lei laughed loudly. The aura on his body rose to an extreme, then dispersed with a loud bang. Like raging waves crashing on the shore, it rolled up thousands of layers of clouds. I've already broken through to the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. I can kill you with one hand. What? 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Even Song Lei broke through. The Tong family's disciples looked terrible. Cloud State's martial artists were also nervous to the extreme. Even some of the elders in the distance had their hearts in their mouths. Originally, they thought that Lin Xian had a chance of winning. But now, the situation was hard to say. Although Lin Xian had soared intent, the further one reached the spiritual ocean tier, the greater the gap. The surrounding warriors also sighed. Originally, they wanted to watch a fierce battle, but now, it seemed that the result was already very obvious. Idiot! Lin Xian even killed a martial artist comparable to the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean tier, not to mention Song Lei. Lu Yang looked at everyone's expression and sneered in his heart. If this is what you're counting on, then I'm very disappointed. Lin Xian's voice was cold. He opened his 5 fingers slightly, and golden arcs of lightning danced on his fingertips. Just nice. I'll use you to test it out. Lin Xian just got the lightning sacred art from Lord Alcohol, so it was a good time to test it out. Arrogant, die. Song Lei attacked like a thunder god. He punched out with both fists, and 2 lightning pythons shot out. What a terrifying lightning aura. Some cultivators' voices trembled. Good job, Brother Lei. Kill him. The disciples of the Tsang family shouted. Tsang Bao looked at the field and nodded slightly. Lei has already mastered the Thunder Tyrant Fist. It shouldn't be hard for him to enter the top 60 of the Hidden Dragon ranking. Chain lightning. Lin Xian's body remained motionless as he abruptly descended. Boom. 5 bolts of golden lightning suddenly struck down from the sky. It was extremely violent. Each of them was as thick as a human thigh. The 5 lightning bolts lined up in a row and blasted into the blue lightning python's body, directly penetrating it. This time, the scene was too shocking. The 10-meter-long lightning python was directly cut apart and turned into dust. What? He's also a thunder tribute martial artist? At this moment, all the surrounding martial artists were stunned. Lin Xian's move was too brilliant. It was so brilliant that it blinded their eyes. I'm afraid even Song Bao wouldn't be able to achieve such a high level of control over lightning. Why do I feel that his lightning is even more terrifying than Song Lei's? Many martial artists were surprised. Song Bao squinted his eyes and looked coldly at Lin Xian. There was a hint of greed in his eyes. Golden lightning. What a high grade. If I can get this lightning, I'm afraid entering the top 30 of the Hidden Dragon ranking wouldn't be a problem. Song Bao wasn't the only one. All the elders of the Tsang family were shocked. Golden lightning? Isn't this the lightning in the legends? How could that kid have it? No, we must capture this person. Only our Tsang family deserves to have this kind of lightning. The elders of the Tsang family made a decision. No matter the result of the competition, they wouldn't let Lin Xian go. Damn it, it's this kind of lightning again. Song Lei's face was ferocious. Last time, he was completely restrained by this golden lightning. I can only use that move. A hint of ruthlessness appeared in his eyes as he formed a strange seal with his palm. A dangerous aura was emitted from his body, making people's hearts tremble. Lin Xian frowned. His body turned into a ray of light and rushed over. He didn't want to waste time on a small character like Song Lei. Your Tsang family oppressed my fellow martial artists of Cloud State and even injured my sect's disciples. This kind of crime is unforgivable. Lin Xian's voice was loud like a bell, shaking the 9 heavens. He arrived in front of Song Lei in a flash and slammed his palm down. Golden lightning ring. A golden lightning ring flew out and wrapped around Song Lei. Then it released a powerful lightning power. Crackle! As if a golden sea of lightning appeared, it covered the area and destroyed everything. Everyone stared blankly and was stunned for a moment. When the lightning disappeared, Song Lei's body was charred black. His hair stood on end, and the defensive armor on his body was broken. A smell of barbecued meat came, mixed with a hint of burnt smell. Just one hit, and Song Lei was severely injured. This kind of method was too terrifying. One had to know that Lin Xian was only a martial artist in the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean realm, while Song Lei was a martial artist in the 4th layer. Although it was only a difference of 1 layer, there was a world of difference between them. This kind of method to fight above one's level could only be done by some very powerful martial arts geniuses. Everyone didn't dare to underestimate Lin Xian anymore. This was definitely a young demon king. You dare to hurt me. I'm going to kill you. Song Lei went crazy. He didn't think that Lin Xian could defeat him in 1 move. He endured the pain and took out a walnut-sized bead from his storage ring. There was a bitter smile on his face. I'm going to let you die without a burial place. Not good. This is the Thunderfire bead. It can kill all martial artists below the 7th layer of the spiritual ocean realm. When the surrounding martial artists saw it, they all retreated in fear, and Lin Xian raised his eyebrows. Purple light flashed in his eyes as he released a soul attack. Song Lei's face was twisted with struggle. Finally, he handed the Thunderfire bead to Lin Xian while trembling. What? Is Song Lei crazy? The group of people was so shocked that their jaws dropped. Bastard. What did you do to Brother Lei? The disciples of the Tsang family were furious. Tsang Bao also frowned, his eyes full of confusion. Lin Xian put away the thunderfire bead, then looked at Tsang Lei with a cold smile. His gaze was like a sword. Waking Tsang lay up instantly. "What did you do to me? My big brother is here. He won't let you go. The Tsang family won't let you go either." Tsang Lei's eyes were filled with fear as he screamed crazily. "You shouldn't have attacked the martial artists of Cloud State, and definitely shouldn't have attacked my fellow disciples." Lin Xian's voice was cold, colder than the ice and snow of Snow State. "Since you did it, you have to pay the price." Golden lightning danced on his fingertips, forming a golden whirlpool. Traces of terrifying aura came from it, as if it was going to destroy everything. "No. Big brother, save me." Tsang Lei used his remaining strength to escape while shouting loudly at the same time. "Who?" Lin Xian's palm fell. Swoosh! A dazzling saber light lit up, cut through the air, and slashed at Lin Xian. It was a powerful and terrifying saber. It directly cut the battle stage into two halves. At the same time, a blue figure flew out and landed on the stage. "Big brother?" Tsang Lei's voice was full of surprise. Everyone looked over and saw Tsang Bao standing opposite Lin Xian with a cold expression. "Don't you think you went too far? Too far? When you attacked the martial artists of Cloud State, did you think you went too far? When you attacked my fellow disciples, did you think you were cruel? Now you're saying this to me. You asked for it. I hit them. What can you do? Brother, don't waste your time talking to him. Just capture him and bring him back to the family." Tsang Lei stood behind Tsang Bao with a vicious expression. Chapter 175. With Tsang Bao's support, Tsang Lei became arrogant again. The disciples of Cloud State were furious. The Tsang family was too much of a bully. Even some of the onlooking disciples were furious. Many of them began to support Lin Xian. "I've said it before. No one can save you." Lin Xian's eyes were like sharp swords that pierced through the front. "Humph! You? My brother can crush you with one hand." Tsang Lei shouted from behind. Whoosh! Lin Xian's body flashed and disappeared. Tsang Bao's pupils constricted, and he was furious. He had defeated Wen Su, who was ranked 47th, and was in the limelight. He thought that he could intimidate everyone, but he did not expect Lin Xian to attack him in front of him. The surrounding martial artists were also stunned. This was too fierce. He really dared to attack Tsang Bao. Tsang Bao stomped his feet, and the lightning on his body surged out crazily. It was as if it had turned into thousands of lightning spears that pierced in all directions. Chi-chi! Golden electric arcs jumped, and Lin Xian's figure appeared from the side. He pulled out an arc of electric light from his hand and formed a circle of electric rings that enveloped Tsang Bao. "Break for me!" Tsang Bao sneered and slashed out with the long saber in his hand. The saber light cut through the void and slashed at the golden electric rings in the air. Chi-chi! The long saber was like a rainbow, as it cut through the golden electric rings like tofu and quickly slashed at Lin Xian. "Not good. Tsang Bao is too powerful." Murong Qianling and the others' faces changed. The Tong family disciples all exclaimed. The surrounding martial artists were also extremely nervous. Could Tsang Bao be so powerful that he could kill Lin Xian with one slash? Lu Yang and Wei Wei looked strange, but they were not too worried. They had seen Lin Xian's strength. Tsang Bao was not much different from the one-eyed wolf bandit. If Lin Xian could kill the one-eyed wolf bandit, he would definitely not be hit by Tsang Bao. In the distant pavilion, the elders all frowned. Among them, the elders of the Tsang family looked solemn, and there was a trace of uneasiness in their hearts. Chi-chi! The saber radiance flashed like a bolt of lightning, piercing through Lin Xian. The hearts of Murong Qianling and the others trembled as they felt a burst of dizziness. They didn't believe that Lin Xian would die just like that. Chi, chi, chi. Lin Xian's split body didn't spurt out blood. Instead, it turned into a ball of lightning and flew in all directions. Phantom. Song Bao's pupils shrank. He seemed to have thought of something terrifying. Ah, Big Brother, save me! A blood-curdling scream came from behind. Song Bao turned around abruptly, his entire being raging with rage. I've said it before. No one can save you. Lin Xian's voice was calm and steady. However, when these words entered the ears of the Tsang family disciples, it was like a clap of thunder from the 9 heavens, shocking them to the point their hearts trembled. Without any hesitation, Lin Xian's palm glowed with a golden lightning vortex. Then he blasted it at Tsang Lei's dantian. Puff! Tsang Lei rolled out like a dead dog. The blue saber radiance flashed and slashed towards Lin Xian. This saber was extremely fast, like a flash of lightning. However, Lin Xian's speed was even faster. He turned into a golden line and retreated rapidly. Rumble, where Lin Xian originally stood, a huge crack appeared and spread into the distance. Ah, my spiritual sea! My spiritual sea is shattered. Tsang Lei rolled on the ground and kept screaming, You actually shattered my spiritual sea. I want you dead. What? Tsang Lei is crippled. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect things to turn out like this. In this world where martial arts were respected, a crippled spiritual sea meant that one could no longer cultivate. This was a fate crueler than death. The surrounding martial artists stared blankly at Lin Xian. An inexplicable fear arose in their hearts. This young man seemed gentle, but when he did things, he was decisive and without hesitation. Even in the face of a powerhouse like Tsang Bao, he couldn't change his mind. Since you bullied the martial artists of Cloud State and my sect, you should be prepared to be crippled. Lin Xian's voice was like a sharp sword that pierced through the sky. The martial artists of Cloud State trembled and looked at Lin Xian with excitement. The disciples of the 3 sects were panting heavily. They felt their blood boiling. Originally, they were unhappy with Lin Xian. However, now Lin Xian dared to challenge the entire Tsang family for them and Cloud State. This kind of courage made them excited and made them yearn for it. What was the attitude of a powerhouse? If I want you to live, you can't die. If I want you to die, no one can save you. Not even God. Wan Jianxing, Yuan Fei, Shangguan Luyun, and the others clenched their fists tightly. Lin Xian's figure had been deeply imprinted in their hearts and became the direction they pursued. In the distant pavilion, the elders of Cloud State's 3 sects also stood up excitedly. Awesome. This feeling is too awesome. For the past few days, they had been suppressed by the Tsang family. Many people mocked Cloud State. They were angry and unwilling, but they were powerless to fight back. As a major force in Green State, the Tsang family was much stronger than them. As for the younger generation, Tsang Lei alone was enough to suppress the martial artists of Cloud State. Now, the devil in their hearts was lying on the ground like a dog. And all of this was done by Lin Xian. He was a disciple of Cloud State. F*CK, this is too awesome. Let's see who dares to say that Cloud State has no one. An elder of the Black Heaven sect shouted. On the other side, the elders of the Tsang family were in an uproar. Many of them stood up and prepared to capture Lin Xian. Stop. If we make a move now, what will the martial artists of the world think of us? The Tsang family's grand elder said coldly, Are we going to let him go just like that? The other elders roared angrily. Let him go. How can we? I want him to suffer a fate worse than death. The Tsang family's grand elders said cruelly, Let's leave the surface matters to the younger generation. If we make a move, those old guys from Cloud State will also make a move. Although our Tsang family isn't afraid of them, this isn't Green State. We don't have enough people, so we can't act rashly. When this is over, we'll secretly capture that kid, extract his lightning, and make him a slave of the Tsang family forever. The group of Tsang family's elders calmed down and sat down. Their eyes flashed, and their smiles were cruel. On the combat stage, Tsang Lei had been carried down. However, things weren't over yet. Tsang Bao's face was ferocious as he glared at Lin Xian. He couldn't wait to hack him to death. Kid, you'll regret this. I'll make you pay. No one can hurt a disciple of the Tsang family. The lightning on Tsang Bao's body rumbled and formed a black cloud above him. The wind and snow between heaven and earth became even stronger. The cold wind blew, as cold as the blades of a blade. However, no one felt the cold. Their bodies were trembling slightly as they stared at the stage with excitement. Exciting, too exciting. Someone dared to make a move on the Tsang family. The surrounding martial artists were as excited as if they were on steroids. Fight, fight, fight. Everyone raised their arms and shouted. Thousands of voices gathered together and formed a torrent that shook the heavens and earth. The entire ice snow city was alarmed. More martial artists rushed over. Lin Xian stared at Tsang Bao. The battle intent in his heart continued to rise. Doesn't your Tsang family like to suppress the martial artists of Cloud State? Today, I'll represent the martial artists of Cloud State and beat your Tsang family until you can't raise your head. Chapter 176. Powerful, too powerful. Who would have thought that a martial artist at the third level of the spiritual ocean realm would dare to go against Tsang Bao? That was an elite that even when Su defeated Peng, Tsang Bao was enraged. His long saber slashed out continuously, forming a saber light in the air. More than half of the sky was covered by the light. The saber light was brilliant, illuminating the front. Lin Xian swayed and kept flashing, dodging all the attacks. He leaned forward, waving his hands. Chain lightning. The clouds rolled, and 5 golden lightning bolts struck down. The sea of lightning rolled around, emitting energy waves that made people's hearts palpitate. Boom! Tsang Bao's long saber turned into lightning, and a lightning bird gushed out from the materialized saber light. With a flap of its wings, it charged into the sky. Rumble, blue lightning bird versus golden lightning. Both were extremely violent energies. When the two collided, they exploded. The entire battle martial stage was shaking. Fortunately, this stage was built with special stones that were extremely hard. Otherwise, this would be enough to turn the stage into dust. That blue lightning bird was pierced through in an instant. 5 terrifying holes the size of buckets appeared. However, his 5 lightning bolts didn't strike down. The injured lightning bird turned into a ball of lightning fire, burning fiercely and exhausting the energy of the 5 golden lightning bolts. With one blow, the two were evenly matched. Cloud State's martial artists all looked at Lin Xian excitedly. Although they admired Lin Xian, they didn't think that Lin Xian could contend against Tsang Bao. But now, it seemed that Lin Xian's strength was even more terrifying than they imagined. Lu Yang and Wei Wei watched with a smile. They knew that Lin Xian's strongest point wasn't lightning, but sword arts. Lin Xian didn't use his sword, which meant that he had enough confidence. Damn it, Tsang Bao was furious. He couldn't get the upper hand. This situation was unexpected. Even in the competition with Wen Su, he had absolute confidence. But now he didn't have any confidence. 7-fold thunder saber. Lightning jumped on Tsang Bao's body, bursting out with powerful energy. He used his strongest attack. His long saber was wrapped in endless lightning, looking azure. Here it comes, Brother Leopard's strongest attack. Seven-layered Thunderblade. Brother Leopard is mighty. The Song family's disciples all shouted. Everyone was nervous. They didn't know if Lin Xian would be defeated by the sevenfold Thunderblade like Wen Su. In a distant pavilion, the hands of the Song family's elder were sweating. The sevenfold Thunderblade should be able to subdue this brat, right? What are you thinking? This is my Song family's spirit tier martial art. It will definitely be able to defeat that little thief. The elder of the Song family felt a trace of worry. Your strongest attack? Lin Xian's lips curled up slightly. His hands began to form a seal, and a whirlpool of golden lightning appeared in his hands. The golden vortex spun at high speed like a whirlwind. Lightning flashed within it. Although the lightning vortex was only the size of a palm, no one dared to underestimate it. Seven-layered Thunderblade, 3 blades in one, 3 phantoms of Thunderblades formed behind Song Bao. They were more than 10 meters tall and looked like small mountains. Under his control, the 3 Thunderblade phantoms quickly merged into one and slashed forward. Air waves rolled, snowflakes flew backward, and the sky was filled with snow. The huge Thunderblade seemed to have cut open the entire space, forming a vacuum zone in front of it. Lightning storm. The golden vortex in Lin Xian's hand flew out and grew bigger. In the sky above the battle stage, a golden cloud seemed to have appeared and shrouded Song Bao. Rumble. Lightning flashed, and the storm danced, drowning the front. Everyone's eyelids twitched as they constantly retreated, afraid of being contaminated by the lightning. Song Bao was hit by the lightning storm and let out a miserable cry. How is this possible? When the Song family's elders saw this scene, they all stood up. The great elder even smashed a table into pieces. Lin Xian's body kept rising as he dodged the thunder blade in the air. Not good. Lin Xian is going to be hit, a martial artist exclaimed. Could it be that both of them are going to be seriously injured? Lin Xian, Morong Qianling, and the rest were extremely anxious. Wei Wei and Lu Yong were also on tenterhooks as they watched nervously. Humph, the sevenfold thunderblade isn't that easy to dodge. In the pavilion, the Song family's great elder said coldly. The blade light shrouded the bottom and was about to hit Lin Xian. Boom. The blade light exploded like a ball of sun, incomparably dazzling. Everyone closed their eyes, not daring to look directly. After a long time, when the light dissipated, everyone opened their eyes and impatiently looked over. They saw that the spiritual energy on Song Bao's body was shattered, and there were holes in his body. His face was black, and his hair was disheveled. He was in a sorry state. Although he was seriously injured, at least he survived. He looked in front of him and saw that it was scorched black, and there was a bottomless hole. Humph, no matter how strong you are, you were still cut down by me. Ha ha ha. Song Bao looked up and laughed. Are you talking about me? A faint voice came from behind him. What? Song Bao's voice stopped abruptly as if he was choked by someone. His face was stiff, and his smile was still on his face, but his eyes were filled with horror. Behind him, Lin Xian was wearing a white bear coat. It was white and flawless, like an elegant prince. Impossible! Song Bao turned back and screamed. How can you be completely fine? He did not believe it. He did not believe it at all. Although it was just 3 blades in one, the power was not something that ordinary people could block. He believed that under that blade, even an expert of the same level would not be able to escape unscathed. However, Lin Xian was not injured at all. Song Bao was not the only one shocked. Everyone was stunned. In their opinion, even if Lin Xian could block this blade, he would at least be seriously injured like Song Bao. However, the reality before their eyes told them that Lin Xian was completely fine. Is Is this guy still human? I feel like I'm dreaming. Many martial artists felt that their heads were stuck and could not think properly. Impossible. How can he dodge the sevenfold thunderblade unscathed? The elders of the Tsang family were in a mess. That was their Tsang family's ultimate move, but someone had managed to dodge it unscathed. Damn it, this kid must have some secrets. We have to capture him, said an elder of the Tsang family through gritted teeth. In fact, Lin Xian was able to dodge the blade thanks to Wen Su. When Wen Su and Tsang Bao were fighting, Lin Xian was shocked by the flight of white feathers. Although he was learning martial arts from Lord Alcohol, he still left a trace of his consciousness. He copied Wen Su's flight of white feathers into his mind. With the great dragon sword seal's unparalleled saint technique, Lin Xian could use this ultimate move to dodge the sevenfold thunderblade. Humph, don't be so smug. That was just an appetizer. Now, I'll show you the true power of the sevenfold thunderblade. Tsang Bao decided to use 5 blades in one. That was his strongest attack. He took a deep breath and circulated his spiritual energy to the maximum. The blade in his hand shone brightly as the phantom of a thunderblade appeared behind him. 5 blades in one? Lin Xian smirked. Since you want to lose, I'll let you lose completely. He flicked his storage ring, and the autumn scar sword appeared in his hand. Chapter 177. With a sword in hand, Lin Xian's aura underwent a huge change. Sharp, sharp like a divine sword unsheathed. What? Is he a swordsman? The surrounding warriors were a little dazed. Lin Xian's lightning power had already shocked them. And now he took out a long sword. No way. If he's a swordsman, how abnormal would he be? Those warriors who did not know Lin Xian were all discussing, their eyes full of surprise, because the average swordsman's ability was in the sword. With a long sword in hand, they could release 120% of their attack, but without a long sword, they could not even release 60% of their attack. However, Lin Xian was obviously an exception. Without a sword, he was very powerful. With a sword, he was even stronger. At this moment, all the warriors who knew Lin Xian had a change of expression. Many people were excited and could not wait to shout out, because Lin Xian's strongest was not lightning but sword intent. A swordsman who comprehended sword intent. His combat power was absolutely heaven-defying. Lin Xian made the same gesture as Tsang Bao, and the spiritual power in his body constantly surged. What is he doing? Is he going to use some ultimate skill? The surrounding warriors were guessing. Humph, don't try to use this trick to confuse me. It's useless. Tsang Bao sneered. Is he going to use the same martial skill? What a joke. The Tsang family elders looked disdainful. However, in the next moment, their eyes almost popped out. 5 thick beams of sword qi appeared behind Lin Xian, as if they were pillars of heaven. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, as if they had seen a ghost. On the opposite side, Tsang Bao's expression changed drastically. His body was trembling, and the lightning blade phantom behind him flickered. Impossible! How do you know my Tsang family's ultimate skill? Tsang Bao shouted with all his strength. The Tsang family disciples behind him were all terrified. The group of Tsang family elders were almost scared to death. This scene was too terrifying. Their opponents had actually used the exact same move, and this move was actually a secret of their family that had never been passed down to outsiders. It's not the sevenfold lightning blade. It just looks the same. The Tsang family's great elder's cultivation was extraordinary, and he was able to see through the truth. Although they looked the same, their auras were completely different. After the elders heard this, they were relieved. Then they sneered. Their Tsang family's sevenfold thunderblade was not something that could be casually called out. Every slash contained a peerlessly powerful force. Moreover, every slash was not simply superimposed. The 7 sabers combined into one could unleash an attack that exceeded one's own strength. Tsang Bao quickly figured this out. He ignored Lin Xian and slowly condensed the shadow of the Thunderblade behind him. Lin Xian also understood this principle. Although he could not simulate the secret of the Thunderblade now, the moment Song Bao attacked, everything would be revealed. Activating his purple spirit eyes to the extreme, Lin Xian seemed to be able to see through Song Bao. Song Bao's body trembled as he felt an inexplicable chill. Without waiting any longer, he waved his long arms, and the 5 saber shadows behind him merged into one, forming a dazzling saber light that slashed down. This moment was extremely fast, but Lin Xian still managed to capture it under the effect of his purple spirit eyes. The great dragon sword seal surged as Lin Xian unleashed his body's potential to the extreme. The saber light flashed and instantly arrived above his head. At this moment, Lin Xian attacked. The 5 sword auras behind him quickly merged into one, forming a sharp saber light. Moreover, it also contained a sharp sword intent. Slash! Lin Xian roared as the Autumn Scar sword slashed out quickly. The sword auras behind him surged and surged in all directions. Rumble! The 2 violent energies collided with each other, producing a metallic sound. I am the true 7-fold Thunderblade. Die. Song Bao's face was filled with madness as he poured all the spiritual energy in his body into the saber. However, what made him despair was that the blue saber light was slowly being repelled. The sharp sword aura was like a giant dragon as it flew towards him. In an instant, everything was annihilated. The whole world seemed to have lost its voice. No sound could be heard, and only light could be seen. Swoosh, swoosh. In the pavilion far away, the elders of the Tsang family could no longer hold it in. They were about to go crazy. Without any hesitation, they quickly rushed towards the battle stage. They were not the only ones who moved. The elders of the 3 sects and the various forces of the Cloud State had also moved. Open! A loud roar was heard as a huge palm appeared in the sky. The palm grabbed at the air, causing the clouds to roll back and strong winds to blow in all directions. Lin Xian's sword aura was shattered. A strong pressure was exerted, as if 10,000 mountains were pressing down on him. This terrifying aura instantly covered the entire area, making it difficult for everyone to breathe. This is a harmonious spirit realm expert, someone said with a trembling voice. Lin Xian's expression was solemn as he looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky, lost in thought. Is this the power of a harmonious spirit realm expert? Too strong. Lin Xian was looking forward to it. Lin Xian was not too worried because he could sense a few familiar forces in his soul. These people would protect him. Swoosh! A huge palm of light, about 100 meters in size, mercilessly grabbed at Lin Xian. Bang! The clouds rolled and formed a huge mountain, repelling the palm of light. A few figures quickly landed beside Lin Xian, protecting him. Greetings, elders, Lin Xian said respectfully. The people who came were Elder Duanmu and the others. They surrounded Lin Xian tightly, fearing that an accident would happen. Little thief, look what you've done. On the opposite side, the elders of the Tsang family were trembling with anger. One of the elders was holding a bloodied leopard with a ferocious expression. Lin Xian sneered, "The young can't beat the old. The Tsang family is really strong." "What did you say? Do you believe that I won't kill you with one slap?" The elder of the Tsang family was furious. "Humph! Do you really think we're decorations?" Elder Duanmu and the others snorted, their aura fluctuating. The Tsang family was in the wrong in the first place. They had mercilessly suppressed the disciples of the Cloud State, but now a harmonious spirit realm warrior dared to attack Lin Xian. We old men shouldn't interfere with the younger generation's battle. If you really want to fight, I can accompany you for a few moves. Elder Duanmu said slowly, Shameless Junior, you stole the secret art of the Tsang family and even injured our disciples. This is unforgivable. Hand over Lin Xian, or the Cloud State will be in trouble. The elder of the Tsang family was overbearing. If you didn't target the disciples of the Cloud State first, I'm afraid this wouldn't have happened. So, use your brain before you do anything in the future. Lin Xian retorted. Tsang leopard, and I had a fair fight. It's inevitable that there would be casualties. This point, your family's Tsang, Leia's already made it very clear. If you really want to attack me without caring about your status, I'll accept it. But at that time, it's none of my business how the world talks about the Tsang family. Lin Xian sneered in his heart. He had many ways to prevent the elder from attacking. The elders of the Tsang family were flushed red. They had calmed down from their initial rage. Now that there were so many pairs of eyes watching, if they acted rashly, they might attract the dissatisfaction of the other forces. Immediately, the elder of the Tsang family snorted. Let's put the matter of injuring him aside for now. You stole the secret art of the Tsang family. This matter will not be forgotten. No matter what, you have to come back with us to the Tsang family and find out the truth. They sneered in their hearts. As long as Lin Xian was in their hands, they would be able to find out the secret on his body. At that time, the golden lightning and all the treasures on Lin Xian would belong to the Tsang family. Chapter 178. Elder Duanmu, and the rest frowned slightly. The martial technique that Lin Xian displayed was indeed similar to Tsang Bao's. If the Tsang family clung to it, this matter would probably be very troublesome. Who knew that Lin Xian laughed disdainfully. Your Tsang family's martial art? What's your Tsang family's martial art called? Humph, asking when you already know the answer. Of course, it's the sevenfold thunder saber. Don't think that we can't recognize you changing to sword shadows. The Tsang family's elders sneered. Sevenfold thunder saber. That's to say that you can, at most, condense 7 saber shadows? Lin Xian asked solemnly. Nonsense, this sort of thing. Most people know. The Tsang family's head elder snorted coldly. After Lin Xian heard, the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. The Tsang family's elders were bewildered, faintly having a bad feeling. But they did not believe that Lin Xian could prove anything. Even the surrounding martial artists also had curious faces. They did not know why Lin Xian was so calm. Everyone, what I displayed was clearly the 9 heaven sword shadows, not some sevenfold thunder saber. Nonsense, what 9 heaven sword shadows? We've never heard of it. Don't try to quibble, you little thief. The Tsang family's elders berated loudly. Whether it's quibbling or not, you'll know with one look. Lin Xian's eyes focused, and the aura on his body gradually became fierce. Behind him, long sword phantoms began to appear, forming a row. Everyone looked over with rapt attention, and very soon their eyes widened. 5, same as before. No, 7. He actually condensed 7. I'm afraid that even in the Tsang family, there aren't many people who can condense 7 sword shadows. The group of martial artists seemed to have gone mad, exclaiming repeatedly. The Tsang family's elders' faces darkened, like they had seen a ghost. Impossible! How can he possibly display 7 sword energies? He's only at the 3rd firmament's spiritual sea. The Tsang family's elders' faces were hideous, but what shocked them had yet to come. After the 7 sword shadows appeared, Lin Xian did not stop, but his spirit energy revolved once again. The 8th sword shadow appeared faintly, appearing before everyone's eyes. Oh, my God, what did I see? The 8th sword shadow. Isn't the 7-layered thunderblade supposed to only have 7 strikes? Why is there an 8th one? Could it be that what he said was true? It wasn't the sevenfold Thunderblade, but the 9 heaven sword shadow the surrounding martial artists discussed animatedly. Up until now, they had already believed more than half of it. When the 9th sword shadow appeared behind Lin Xian, everyone believed it. Lin Xian was using his own martial art, 9 heaven sword shadow. The faces of the Tsang family's elders darkened as they stared at Lin Xian like hungry wolves. Damn it, what kind of secret technique does he have? The elders roared in their hearts. They didn't know how Lin Xian was able to condense 9 sword shadows, but they knew that if the Tsang clan could grasp this method, then their 7-layered Thunderblade would rise to a whole new level. And at that time, the Tsang family's status would not only be the overlord of Qingzhou, but it was very likely that they would be one of the top powers in Xia country. All of this could be achieved as long as they captured Lin Xian. Humph, it's just a trick. Just follow me back obediently. The Tsang family's great elder sneered and suddenly attacked. Boom! Like a volcanic eruption, the spiritual energy wave blew away all the surrounding martial artists. A gigantic lightning palm blotted out the sky and grabbed at Lin Xian. How dare you? Elder Duanmu was furious. He waved his sleeve and went forward. When 2 harmonious spirit experts fought, the momentum was shocking. With just one strike, all the martial artists within 1,000 meters fell to the ground. Just as the battle was about to break out, a cold snort came from the horizon. Humph! How dare you touch a friend of my Wanbao tower? A strong light flashed and collided between Elder Duanmu and the Tsang family's great elder. The force was abnormally strong, but it was also very gentle. It separated the two of them in an instant. With a flash, 3 old men appeared in front of everyone. One red and one white, and the other was a hunchback old man. Elder Duanmu and the rest of the Tsang family's elders looked at the 3 of them cautiously. So it's Daoist friends from the Wanbao Tower. Greetings, Duanmu. On the other side, the Tsang family's elders also bowed. They didn't dare to go against the Wanbao Tower. The Tsang family was only a big family in the Qing province, while the Wanbao Tower was a big power in the Xia country. The 2 of them weren't on the same level. I don't know why the 3 of you are here. Greetings to the 3 seniors. Before the Tsang family's great elder could finish his words, Lin Xian shouted first. The red and white elders looked at Lin Xian with a smile. Little friend Lin isn't injured, right? Lin, little friend Lin? Everyone was stunned. The Tsang family's elders were even more dumbstruck. Lin Xian was actually related to the Wanbao Tower, and this relationship didn't seem to be ordinary. Who exactly was he? Why were so many people protecting him? The Tsang family's elders could not figure it out, but they knew that the matter of capturing Lin Xian this time was probably going to be a bust. Regarding the matter of Lin Xian's 9-heaven sword shadow, this old man can prove that it's indeed his own martial art, the Wanbao Tower's hunchbacked old man said coolly. Since Elder Gu said it, then it's naturally true. The Tsang family's great elder was going crazy in his heart, but there was nothing he could do. He did not dare to oppose the Wanbao Tower head-on. But the matter of capturing Lin Xian, he would not give up. Let's go! The Tsang family's great elder flicked his sleeves and brought the Tsang family's people away. Quite a few elders gnashed their teeth in hatred as they looked at Lin Xian. The ruthlessness in them was very obvious, but Lin Xian was not afraid at all. With the Wanbao Tower now, the Tsang family did not dare to make a move at all, and after a few more days, even without the Wanbao Tower's protection, he would not fear the Tsang family either, because he was bound to meet the Sword Pool Manor's Lin family's people, and at that time, his other identity would also be exposed. At that time, the Tsang family's elders probably would not dare to do anything to him at all. Seeing the Tsang family's people leave, the Wanbao Tower's 3 elders looked at Lin Xian with smiles. Young friend Lin, don't forget our agreement. 3 seniors, please rest assured. Lin Xian won't forget. Also, thank the 3 seniors for saving me. Lin Xian said respectfully. Hoo, you're too serious, the 3 elders said with a laugh. Following that, the 3 people spoke briefly, and then left. Xianer, let's go back, Elder Duanmu said. Yes, a cloud of mist wrapped everyone, and left this place. Only a group of martial artists remained on the spot, discussing nonstop. Of course, the object of their discussion was all Lin Xian. Presumably, in less than a few days, Lin Xian's name would spread throughout the entire Ice Snow City. In the southern district of Ice Snow City, there was a small ice snow park. The houses inside were all cast with cold ice. In one of the halls many people stood. They were precisely the Profound Sky sect's disciples. Elder Duanmu sat in the middle, and on both sides were the other elders of the sect. Elder Shui Yi sat in the middle, but his expression was a little unnatural. Zheng Jun stood in the crowd with his head lowered. He did not dare to look at Lin Xian. Lin Xian recounted what happened after entering the blood-red door. Of course, he did not mention some of the important details. He did not mention a word about the great dragon sword seal and Shunjingqiu. So, there's a secret place under the blood-red palace. Is that black-robed man really from the Nether Hall? I'm afraid it won't be too peaceful, Elder Duanmu, and the rest had gloomy expressions. No matter which news it was, it made it difficult for them to calm down. Xianer, go and rest. 5 days later, we'll head to the snow-seeking sect. Chapter 179. The snowstorm in Ice Snow City continued, and more martial artists came and went. Of course, the most active ones were the younger generation. Did you know that a young genius appeared in Cloud State? Cloud State? Are you kidding? What kind of genius can appear in that place? Some of the new disciples did not believe it. Immediately, someone told them about the battle between Lin Xian and Song Bao. Many people were shocked. Of course, not everyone admired Lin Xian. The disciples of the Tsang family did not. They could not wait to eat Lin Xian. Some of the top experts on the hidden dragon role were also indifferent. To them, whether it was Song Bao or Lin Xian, they were not enough to arouse their interest. Their goal was to become a martial arts genius. Lin Xian stayed in the ice snow courtyard and did not come out. He rejected many people who came to visit him. In these 2 days, he continued to consolidate his lightning technique and merged it with the power of wind and lightning. Now, his strength had improved again. He had comprehended about 40% of the Wind Emperor's sword and 30% of the lightning technique. His soul power had also improved. However, his sword intent had reached a bottleneck and could not reach the small success stage. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was time to head to the snow-seeking sect. Lin Xian walked out of his room and met up with Elder Duanmu and the rest. There were a total of 5 elders and 10 disciples heading to the snow-seeking sect. Lin Xian's arrival attracted everyone's attention. Among them, Elder Duanmu was surprised. After not seeing him for 5 days, Lin Xian's aura had become stronger again. This was not because his cultivation had increased, but because there was a hidden power in his body that could explode at any time. He is indeed a genius. This kind of person will laugh at the world sooner or later. Elder Duanmu exclaimed in his heart, "Everyone is here. Let's go." Elder Duanmu waved his sleeve, and a white jade ship appeared in the sky. Lin Xian sighed. The last time he rode the white jade ship was when he went to the bloody trial grounds. In the blink of an eye, a few months had passed, and he was no longer the pulse condensation stage brat. A group of people boarded the ship and rushed towards the snow-seeking sect. Wuji, Wuji, the little white monkey woke up on Lin Xian's shoulder. It rubbed its eyes and cried out. The eyes of Murong Qianling and the other female disciples lit up as they looked at the little white monkey with starry eyes. Whoosh! The snow-white monkey's body flashed and disappeared from Lin Xian's shoulder. Lin Xian was slightly stunned. He realized that the little white monkey's figure had disappeared. "It's in my storage ring," said Lord Alcohol via voice transmission. Lin Xian probed with his soul force. Sure enough, he discovered the figure of the snow-white monkey. However, his heart suddenly trembled. "This isn't a spiritual pet storage ring. This little thing is magical. You can't use common sense to judge it," Lord Alcohol said with a smile. Hearing this, the little white monkey raised its head and made a face at the void. "He can sense our presence?" Lin Xian was alarmed. It was fine if the monkey could sense him, but if it could also sense Lord Alcohol, it would be heaven-defying. The little white monkey showed a disdainful expression. Then it grabbed the green eggshell and ate it. Lin Xian was speechless. He realized that this little thing really couldn't be judged with common sense. Ignoring the little white monkey, Lin Xian looked around. The snow-seeking sect was located on a snowy mountain. None of the buildings were made of ice. There were ice halls, ice palaces, ice bridges, and even an ice river that surrounded the mountain. The white jade ship flew quickly and soon arrived at the periphery of the snow-seeking sect. Lin Xian felt that the surrounding spiritual energy had become denser. It was several times purer than in the mysterious heaven sect. As everyone knew, the denser the spiritual energy was, the faster a martial artist's cultivation would be. For example, the disciples of the mysterious heaven sect cultivated faster than martial artists from other places in the Cloud Prefecture. However, compared to the snow-seeking sect, it was much worse. In the Xia country, the few large spiritual veins were all occupied by the top forces. Among them, the three strongest forces were the Sword Pool Mansion, the Earth Fire sect, and the Blue Moon sect. And now, the snow-seeking sect had also become one of the top forces. When they arrived at the mountain gate of the snow-seeking sect, Elder Duanmu controlled the white jade ship to descend slowly. There were many martial artists at the mountain gate. The arrival of Lin Xian and the rest attracted many people's attention. "So it's Daoist friends from the mysterious heaven sect. Please come in." A long-faced old man smiled and invited Duanmu and the rest in. Behind them, a martial artist whispered, "They're actually from the mysterious heaven sect. I wonder which one of them is Lin Xian." "It's useless even if you know. Those who can participate in the snow-seeking sect's grand meeting are all overlords. The younger generation here are the real geniuses. They're not people like Song Bao and Lin Xian can compare to." The few of them whispered among themselves. They were somewhat disdainful of Lin Xian, Elder Duanmu, and the rest were let in. The elders had to go to the main hall to discuss some matters and were temporarily separated from Lin Xian and the rest. Lin Xian and the rest of the younger generation were led around by the snow-seeking sect's disciples. "Everyone follow me. I'm sure you've never seen a large sect before. I'll show you around." The snow-seeking sect's disciple who received Lin Xian and the rest had an arrogant expression. It was no wonder. The snow-seeking sect had been promoted to a 3-star sect, while Lin Xian and the rest were just small martial artists from a 1-star sect. The gap between the two was too big. Lin Xian didn't care. Ever since he saw a genius like Shun Jingqiu, his horizons had been broadened. His martial Dao goal was higher and further. Moreover, he was born in the Sword Pool Mansion. The place where he lived was even stronger than the snow-seeking sect. Therefore, he only smiled at such words. However, the faces of Murong Qianling and the rest were a little ugly. Many of them were livid and angry. Everyone is usually cultivating. Now that we finally have time to rest, let's take it as a sightseeing tour. Lin Xian smiled at the crowd. "Senior brother, thank you for your trouble. The snow-seeking sect's disciple looked at Lin Xian in surprise, and then led the way. It had to be said that this place was indeed unique. There were buildings made of ice and snow everywhere. There were snow trees planted on the side of the road. Lin Xian had snow beasts roaming around. It was like a snow wonderland. It's you? A cry of surprise was heard. Lin Xian turned around and saw a handsome young man with a sword standing on the side of the road. Senior Brother Yin, the snow-seeking sect's disciple said respectfully. This young man was called Yin Shaoli. He had met Lin Xian once in Yunzhou. So, it's Brother Yin. Lin Xian cupped his fists and said, "All right, I'll take care of this. You can go do other things." Yin Shaoli said to the disciple. Then he smiled at Lin Xian and said, "Please." Yin Shaoli's attitude was quite polite. Everyone's expression eased a lot. Along the way, they visited many places and left a lot of laughter. The Plum Blossom Pavilion is up ahead. I'll take you there. Yin Shaoli led the way and walked forward. It was a garden with many different types of plum blossoms. There were plum blossoms of all shapes and colors. It could be said that it was a scenic spot of the snow-seeking sect. There were many people in the garden. Most of them were from the younger generation. Among them, there were more than 10 figures sitting in the pavilion, enjoying the plum blossoms and the snow. Junior Brother Yin, you're here too. One of the people in the pavilion smiled. I brought my friends from the Black Heaven sect to enjoy the scenery. I didn't expect Senior Brother Huang to be here too. Hearing that it was a Black Heaven sect's disciple, the people in the pavilion were surprised and turned around. "Brat, it's you?" One of them stared coldly at Lin Xian. Chapter 180. There was a young man in the pavilion who was staring at Lin Xian coldly. The young man had a powerful qi. There was a sword mark between his eyebrows that looked like a sharp sword. "It's you?" Lin Xian was a little surprised. He had fought with the young man before, but he didn't expect to see him here. "Is Lin Feng here too?" Lin Xian looked around quickly, but he didn't see Lin Feng. "Junior Yin, this is..." Huang Cheng noticed something was wrong and asked quickly. Yin Shaoli also noticed the young man's cold eyes. He quickly said, "This is Lin Xian. Nice to meet you." Lin Xian cupped his fist and said, "Lin Xian? Humph, I've never heard of him." A girl in purple next to the young man sneered. "This is the Garden of Plum Appreciation. Not just anyone can enter." It was obvious that the girl in purple and the young man were in cahoots. Everyone else was watching with a smile on their faces, as if they were waiting to watch a good show. The disciples of the Xian Tian sect blushed with shame and anger. Lin Xian raised his eyebrows and sneered. "I don't see any Tom, Dick, or Harry, but I see 2 lackeys." The crowd was a little surprised. They didn't know what Lin Xian meant. "Aren't you 2 Lin Feng's lackeys?" Lin Xian looked at the young man and the girl in purple and asked. The people in the pavilion were stunned, and the surrounding cultivators were in an uproar. Did this guy know who the cultivators in the pavilion were? He was too arrogant. "Boy, you're courting death. I'm going to tear your mouth apart." The young man and the girl in purple were furious. They were noble, and no one had ever dared to talk to them like that. But this young man from Yunzhou, a disciple of a 1-star sect, dared to talk to them like that. 2 attacks quickly flew towards Lin Xian. One was sword qi, and the other was a palm of light. Ka, ka, ka. Lin Xian's expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to move, frost scattered in the air, and a wave of energy was transmitted. The speed of the sword qi and the palm of light slowed down, and a layer of frost appeared on them before they were finally frozen. A huge block of ice appeared in front of Lin Xian. It was 2 meters tall and as smooth as a mirror. No one had expected such a thing to happen. The young man with the sword mark and the girl in purple turned gloomy at once. Huang Cheng and Yin Shali looked into the distance with reverence and said respectfully, "Greetings, Senior Sister Shui." In the plum garden, there was a white figure that seemed to blend in with the surroundings. Fighting is not allowed in the plum garden. I hope that everyone will restrain themselves. The woman's voice was cold and emotionless. The young man and the girl in purple seemed to have thought of something. Their expressions changed again and again. In the end, they both squeezed out a smile. "So it's the ice fairy. We've been rude. Fairy, don't worry. We won't fight in the plum garden." The ice fairy, the disciples of the Black Heaven sect exclaimed. Lin Xian was also a little stunned. He was no longer an ignorant young man. He had heard of the ice fairy. She was a genius in the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon leaderboard. Her cultivation was unfathomable. The young man with the sword mark and the girl in purple glared at Lin Xian before slowly sitting down. Lin Xian shrugged and led the crowd to enjoy the plum garden. The jade butterfly plum hasn't bloomed yet this year. In the plum garden, the beautiful figure sighed faintly. The girl in purple in the pavilion said sweetly, "Sister, don't worry. Young Master Feng is quite knowledgeable about plum flowers. When young Master Feng is free tomorrow, Sister will be able to see the jade butterfly plum bloom." "And you still say you're not a lackey?" Lin Xian muttered softly. Although his voice was soft, it was still clearly heard by everyone. The surrounding martial artists were slightly stunned. They wanted to laugh, but didn't dare to. The girl in purple had a dark face, and her chest was heaving up and down. She was pissed off by Lin Xian. Whoosh! The snow-white monkey jumped out and stood on Lin Xian's shoulder. It held its belly and made funny faces at the girl in purple from time to time. PFFF, finally, someone couldn't help but laugh. This young man was interesting. Even his monkey was so good. "Sister, I think it's necessary to let some small fries from the countryside go out, so they don't ruin your mood." The girl in purple stared at Lin Xian as she gnashed her teeth in anger. In the plum garden, the beautiful figure looked over. Her clear eyes were like the source of ice. The disciples behind Lin Xian shivered, as if they had fallen into an ice cave. Morong Qian Ling pulled Lin Xian's sleeve and whispered, "Junior brother Lin, why don't we go?" The disciples of the Black Sky sect were scared. The people here were too high level. They were all elites on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard. They were not used to it. Lin Xian smiled and comforted them. "Why wait for Lin Feng? If you want to enjoy the plum blossoms, I can make it happen immediately." Lin Xian's words shocked everyone again. This young man was too heaven-defying. He dared to say anything. Not only were the surrounding cultivators dizzy, but Yin Shaoli and Huang Cheng also felt dizzy. Huang Cheng glared at Yin Shaoli. The latter looked like he was about to cry. "Well, Brother Lin, why don't we go?" Yin Shaoli whispered. "I'll go somewhere else." "Go? Why should we go? Don't tell me you don't want to see the plum blossoms?" Everyone was speechless. The sword mark youth and the girl in purple wanted to bite Lin Xian. "Humph, you country bumpkin. Have you seen a mutated plum blossom before?" The girl in purple sneered. "You dare to lie to the ice fairy. I think the seniors of the Snow Seek sect will not forgive you." "Lie? How did I lie?" Lin Xian looked innocent. "Isn't it just the jade butterfly plum?" "I promise I can make it bloom." The ice fairy frowned. She stared at Lin Xian as if she was thinking about something. "Isn't it just the jade butterfly plum?" The girl in purple laughed angrily. "This plum blossom is only found in a few places in the Great Xia. Even young Master Feng is not 100% sure. How can you be so sure?" "That's because you don't know." Lin Xian said indifferently, "Lin Feng is not a god. What he can't do doesn't mean that others can't." "At least I can do it." Lin Xian looked at the two in the pavilion and said slowly, "Why don't we make a bet?" "Bet? What bet?" The girl in purple asked, subconsciously, let's bet if I can make the jade butterfly plum bloom. Lin Xian said in a deep voice, if I can't do it, you can do whatever you want with me, but if I can do it, Lin Xian looked at her with a playful expression. What do you want? The girl in purple crossed her arms and asked, nervously, if I can do it, you have to shout, young Master Xian, I was wrong. I won't do it again. What do you think? You? The girl in purple was so angry that her whole body was shaking. I'll bet with you. I will skin you alive. What about you? Lin Xian looked at the sword-marked teenager. Seeing Lin Xian so calm, the sword-marked teenager was a bit scared. However, he did not believe that Lin Xian could make the jade butterfly plum bloom. I'll bet with you, the sword-marked teenager sneered. As long as Lin Xian lost, the autumn scar sword would be his. Fairy, can I try? Lin Xian walked towards the ice fairy with a smile. Chapter 181. When Lin Xian was 30 feet away from Snow Fairy, he felt a sense of pressure. At the same time, there was a bone-chilling coldness. He stopped and waited for Snow Fairy's answer. The snow-white monkey on his shoulder was also waiting. Its black gem-like eyes were filled with curiosity. Can you really make the jade butterfly plum bloom? Snow Fairy asked. Lin Xian nodded and smiled confidently. Behind him, many warriors surrounded him. They also wanted to see the legendary jade butterfly plum bloom. The sword-marked youth and purple-clothed girl stood in the crowd and looked coldly at Lin Xian. Country bumpkin, do you know which jade butterfly plum is? The purple-clothed girl mocked. If you can't find it, then get lost. Don't lie to Snow Fairy. The sword-marked youth shouted coldly. Snow Fairy didn't stop them this time. Instead, she said indifferently, as long as you can find the real jade butterfly plum, I can let you try. Lin Xian smiled indifferently. All right. Then he looked at the plum blossoms nearby. There were dozens of unbloomed plum blossoms around him, but only one of them was the real jade butterfly plum. Everyone focused and waited for Lin Xian to make his move. Lord Alcohol's voice sounded in Lin Xian's mind. Kid, I don't know any jade butterfly plum. You can only rely on yourself. Don't worry, Lord Alcohol. Lin Xian transmitted his voice. He paced back and forth in the plum blossom forest and said slowly, there used to be a jade butterfly plum in my yard. Keep bragging. How can there be a jade butterfly plum in Cloud State? The purple-clothed girl retorted. Lin Xian ignored her and continued, my mother planted it. Every winter, it would bloom into a jade butterfly plum. When you're lucky, it might even turn into a butterfly. Lin Xian's voice was low, but the scene he described made everyone yearn for it. Snow Fairy's eyes flickered with a hint of excitement. She knew that Lin Xian must have seen the jade butterfly plum bloom, because very few people knew about it. Do you know the story of the jade butterfly plum? Lin Xian suddenly asked. Everyone was stunned and shook their heads. They had only heard of this kind of exotic plum, but they didn't know the specifics. Snow Fairy's expression changed slightly. She knew, but with her temperament, she definitely wouldn't say it out loud. Lin Xian didn't say anything else. Instead, he stopped in front of a plum tree. This was a very ordinary plum tree, so ordinary that no one paid attention to it. Everyone was surprised. They didn't expect the legendary jade butterfly plum to be so ordinary. How could it be this one? The purple-clothed girl sneered. Unexpectedly, Ice Fairy said indifferently, you may begin. What? It's really this one? Everyone exclaimed in surprise. There was a faint trace of excitement in their hearts. The purple-clothed girl's face was burning. She gritted her teeth and said, it must be a wild guess. I don't believe that you can make the jade butterfly tree bloom. The young man frowned. He had a bad feeling. It was his intuition as a swordsman. Everyone craned their necks, wanting to know how Lin Xian was going to make the jade butterfly plum blossom. Ice Fairy was also looking forward to it. She was actually a little nervous in her heart. Lin Xian looked at the budding flower bud and slowly walked forward. Lin Xian touched it gently with his fingertips and began to draw on it. He was very fast. In the blink of an eye, butterfly-like shapes appeared on several flower buds. Lin Xian didn't stop. He finished drawing all the flower buds. "It's done," Lin Xian said. "What? That's it?" Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe it. "You just drew a few butterflies, and you think it's the jade butterfly plum? What a joke." The purple-clothed girl shouted. "I hope you can still be so loud when you admit your mistake." Lin Xian stared coldly at the purple-clothed girl. After that, he ignored her and looked at Ice Fairy. "Fairy, use your heart to communicate with it." Everyone was suspicious. They all felt that Lin Xian was a fraud. However, Ice Fairy seemed to believe Lin Xian. She walked in front of the jade butterfly plum, pressed her palms together, and slowly closed her eyes. Everyone waited, unsure of what Ice Fairy was thinking. Moments later, specks of light suddenly lit up like fireflies. Following that, the light grew brighter and brighter like moonlight. It was intoxicating. One flower bud after another gradually bloomed. The shape of the petals was like a fluttering butterfly. "It's opening! It's opening! It's really opening!" Everyone exclaimed. "Impossible! This is impossible!" The purple-clothed girl kept repeating, as though she couldn't believe it. Sword Mark's face turned black as well. He even had the urge to escape. Ice Fairy opened her eyes and looked at the blooming jade butterfly plum. She was speechless for a long time. Suddenly, the flowers spread their wings as butterflies of light flew out and danced in the air. Butterfly dance. So, it really does exist. Frost Fairy was dumbfounded. Lin Xian looked at the jade butterflies that filled the sky and sighed inwardly. He was somewhat homesick. In this world, only by possessing great strength can you protect your loved ones, Lord Alcohol reminded him. Lin Xian nodded and became even more determined on his martial path. After a long while, the jade butterflies in the air disappeared and transformed into jade-like flowers that bloomed in the garden. Lin Xian turned his head and looked at Sword Mark and the purple-clothed girl. The purple-clothed girl looked flustered. Her arrogance from before was gone. Sword Mark's face was gloomy. He wished he could find a hole to hide in. "The two of you, I believe our bet still stands, right?" Lin Xian asked indifferently. "Weren't you shouting very loudly just now? Continue shouting now." The Black Heaven sect disciples felt relieved. The purple-clothed girl's face turned red as she was about to cry. She was filled with regret. Why did she have to go against Lin Xian? If the heavens gave her another chance, she would definitely stay far away from Lin Xian. It would be best if they never met again. As a disciple of a large family, saying such words in front of so many people made the purple-clothed girl want to die. In the end, her face turned red, and she fainted from anger. Plop! The purple-clothed girl fell to the ground. "What about you? Do you choose to faint or shout?" Lin Xian asked in a deep voice. Sword Mark clenched his fists tightly. He wished he could fight Lin Xian to the death. However, he was the eldest disciple of the Golden Sword sect and someone with status in the pugilistic world. Now that he was in front of so many people, he couldn't do anything. Moreover, if he escaped, he would be too ashamed to face anyone in the future. If he begged for mercy, he would be too ashamed to face anyone. In the end, he chose the same method as the purple-clothed girl and fainted. However, he didn't faint out of anger. Instead, he used his spiritual power to knock himself out. He probably never dreamed that he would end up like this. Awesome. The Black Heaven sect disciples were overjoyed as they roared in their hearts. Lin Xian was also smiling. He was very satisfied with the outcome of dealing with two experts without making a move. Who knows them? Carry them out. Lying here will ruin my mood. Lin Xian waved his hand in disgust. In the crowd, Sword Mark's companions were livid as they carried the two away. Lin Xian, right? Not only did you offend the Golden Sword sect and the Yuan clan, but you also offended young Master Feng. Wait for your death. A few young men said coldly. They were all martial artists who followed Lin Xian. At this moment, they were all staring at Lin Xian with murderous intent. Chapter 182. The few warriors left quickly, but there was still a trace of killing intent in the air. The people of the Xian Tian sect were worried about Lin Xian. After all, they were all powerful warriors, and there seemed to be Lin Feng's shadow behind them. That was the top existence on the Hidden Dragon ranking. However, everyone noticed that Lin Xian was calm, as if he didn't care about it. After saying goodbye to the ice fairy, Lin Xian and the others left the pavilion. Lin Xian didn't wander around. He went to the residence prepared for them by the snow-seeking sect and closed the door to rest. On the other hand, the news of the Sword Mark youth and the girl in purple fainting from anger was secretly spread. The Golden Sword sect and the Yuan clan were furious. They wanted to kill Lin Xian with one slap. This was definitely a disgrace to them. Two geniuses were actually scared to death by a martial artist in the third layer of the spiritual sea realm. This was too funny. The Lin clan also heard the news, but the name Lin Xian made them even more moved. Many people secretly checked Lin Xian's identity to verify their guesses. In a luxurious and elegant room, a group of well-dressed youths stood around a young man. Brother Feng, Yan Hui, and Yuan Hong fainted from anger. Now, the whole snow-seeking sect is talking about it. When Lin Feng heard that, he frowned and said, "Who attacked? Could it be those guys in the top 10? Yan Hui and Yuan Hong were naturally the Sword Mark youth, and the girl in purple. They were geniuses in the top 30 of the Hidden Dragon ranking, especially Yan Hui. After the battle with Lin Xian, his cultivation broke through again and reached the 5th layer of the spiritual sea realm. His strength was even stronger. Only the geniuses in the top 10 of the Hidden Dragon ranking could deal with two people at the same time. Neither. It said that a martial artist called Lin Xian did it. The disciple said quickly, "Crack." The wine cup in Lin Feng's hand was crushed, and the wine inside turned into powder. Lin Xian. Lin Feng's face darkened. "Don't tell me it's that trash Lin Xian." "I don't think that's possible either. That guy can't cultivate at all. After he was chased out of the clan, there's never been any news of him. How could he appear here?" "That's right. Maybe they have the same name." The disciples of the Lin Xian clan were all discussing amongst themselves. They didn't believe that this was the doing of the Lin Xian they knew. No matter who it is, if he dares to do such a thing, he will definitely die. Another Lin family disciple sneered. The Golden Sword sect and the Yuan family will not let him go. "Go and investigate. I want to know everything about that person," said Lin Feng. "Don't worry, Big Brother Feng. We'll do it right away." The disciples quickly left. Lin Xian was cultivating in his room. He didn't relax at all and was constantly improving his strength. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. "Kid, there's a powerful aura approaching." Lord Alcohol sent a voice transmission. "It should be someone from the Tsang family." "Tsang family? How dare they make a move here?" Lin Xian's face darkened. "It's precisely because no one expected it that they dared to make a move." Lord Alcohol quickly said, "This aura should belong to a martial artist in the 7th layer of the spiritual sea tier. You better leave quickly." Lin Xian didn't hesitate. He left an afterimage in the room and quickly left. Swoosh, swoosh. A figure silently scuttled in and turned into a streak of light that quickly charged at Lin Xian. Blue lightning surged out at extreme speed. Pooh! In just a flash, it pierced through Lin Xian. The afterimage was pierced and turned into a streak of golden lightning. He actually ran. The person who came was an elder of the Tsang family. He frowned, and his face was extremely gloomy. Their original plan was to make a sudden move, so that no one would be able to guess. However, they didn't expect Lin Xian to be even more cunning than them. He actually left an afterimage in the room. Consider yourself lucky. However, you can't escape from my palm. The elder of the Tsang family planned to wait for Lin Xian to return. He believed that with his strength, taking down Lin Xian would be as easy as drinking water. However, before he could finish sneering, a streak of green gas quickly flew into his body. The elder of the Tsang family had a sinister expression, and his eyes were filled with fear. He kept struggling as if he was drowning. His powerful ability seemed to have lost its effect. After a moment, the elder of the Tsang family stopped breathing and stopped moving, and a green-haired man appeared in the room. It was the person in the bronze coffin. After being scared away by the snow-white monkey, he didn't expect to appear beside Lin Xian again. And Lin Xian didn't notice. This body is just right. The green-haired man's voice was very hoarse. A streak of green gas entered the elder of the Tsang family. Immediately after, the elder of the Tsang family slowly stood up as if he was alive. If one looked carefully, they would be able to see that there was a green glow in his eyes. Jijia, the elder of the Tsang family, laughed evilly. His body turned into a streak of light and quickly rushed out. After Lin Xian escaped the room, he heaved a sigh of relief. Damn the Tsang family. I'll teach you a lesson sooner or later. Lin Xian's eyes were cold as he decided to eliminate the Tsang family in the future. However, just as he took 2 steps, a sense of danger surged in his heart again. Damn it, does he dare to make a move in public? Lin Xian was puzzled, but he didn't slow down. He quickly rushed towards the crowd. Behind him, the aura was still there, tightly locking onto Lin Xian. No, this isn't the aura of the Tsang family elder. Lin Xian was alarmed. This is the aura of the green-haired man. Lin Xian took out the snow-white monkey, hoping to intimidate the figure behind him. However, it didn't work this time. It's useless. That person used a secret technique to possess the body of the Tsang family elder. He's no longer afraid of this, Lord Alcohol said in a deep voice. Find a few powerful people to intimidate him. That's the only way. Lin Xian increased his speed. The strength of the green-haired man was too terrifying. It was far from what he could contend with now. Lin Xian quickly ran towards the residence of the seniors of the Myriad Treasure Tower. He could only rely on external forces. Along the way, Lin Xian's speed alarmed many people. Many people looked at him strangely, not knowing what had happened. After Lin Xian arrived, he learned that the seniors of the Myriad Treasure Tower weren't here. Instead, they had gone to the snow-seeking sect's main hall to discuss matters. Damn it! Lin Xian's heart sank. He felt that the figure behind him was getting bolder, as though he was about to make a move. There's a group of powerful auras to the east. That should be the so-called snow-seeking sect's main hall, Lord Alcohol said. Let's give it a try. Lin Xian held onto a glimmer of hope as he quickly ran over. He raised his speed to the limit as his body transformed into a bolt of lightning and flew over. Behind him, the green-haired man seemed to have sensed Lin Xian's intentions and became abnormally uneasy. He felt that there were many powerful auras in front of him, and a few of them made his heart tremble. With a green light in his eyes, the possessed elder of the Tsang family increased his speed. In the blink of an eye, the distance between the two was shortened. Along the way, many warriors noticed this situation, and their expressions changed. Someone actually dares to make a move in the snow-seeking sect. This is too powerful. Moreover, the one being chased seems to be Lin Xian, who has recently become famous. Could it be that someone from the Golden Sword sect or the Yuan family has made a move? Some warriors guessed. Lin Xian used the power of wind and thunder and increased his speed again. He quickly approached the snow-seeking sect's main hall. At this moment, the elder of the Tsang family behind him was less than 10 meters away. A pair of large green palms, which were like mountains, grabbed at Lin Xian. He looked just like a normal person, but Lin Xian knew that the Tsang family's elder had died a long time ago, and the current person was the mysterious green-haired man. Humph! Which junior dares to cause trouble here? The elder of the snow-seeking sect coldly snorted. His voice was like a thunder god that shook the heavens, causing Lin Xian to feel dizzy. Fortunately, his soul force was strong enough to withstand this pressure. Around them, many martial artists held their breaths and watched nervously. Just now they had witnessed the fight between Lin Xian and the Tsang family elder. That kind of scene made their hearts tremble. "Tsang Yuan, you're injured," the great elder of the Tsang family exclaimed from behind. He naturally knew what happened, but he didn't expect Tsang Yuan to make a move in front of so many people. Moreover, what surprised him even more was that Tsang Yuan was injured. "Snow, elder, let me take down this brat." The great elder of the Tsang family's eyes flashed, and he quickly made his move. He wanted to make his move before everyone knew the truth. A powerful, harmonious spirit realm aura was released, and the great elder of the Tsang family mercilessly made his move. The great heavenly hand covered the sky like a dark cloud, enveloping Lin Xian. "Tsang family, if I don't die, I'll erase your name from this world forever." Lin Xian suddenly turned his head, and a sword light flashed in his eyes. He couldn't escape. Facing a harmonious spirit realm expert, he had no chance of escaping. Lord Alcohol sighed slightly, and his eyes gradually became sharp, as if a supreme expert had awakened. Suddenly, he seemed to have sensed something, and that powerful aura suddenly disappeared. The moment Lin Xian turned his head, a few of the elders in the sky exclaimed. Among them were Elder Duanmu of the Profound Heaven Sect and Elder Gu of the Myriad Treasure Tower. However, most of them were the elders of the Lin family. Boom! Just as the great elder of the Tsang family made his move, a glaring sword light shone in all directions. The ice and snow between heaven and earth flew backward, and the clouds in the sky tumbled. Hundreds of meters of sword chi crisscrossed, connecting heaven and earth, and endless killing intent filled the air. The sword chi flew and slashed towards the great elder of the Tsang family. Ah, a mournful scream rang out, making people's scalps go numb. A pillar of blood spurted out, and the great elder of the Tsang family heavily crashed into the ground. Rumble! 100-meter-wide crater appeared on the ground, and countless cracks spread in all directions. All of this happened too suddenly. Everyone was stunned. A majestic figure walked down from the sky step by step, looking disdainfully at the surroundings. The elders of the snow-seeking sect hurriedly used their spirit energy to stop the cracks from spreading. At the same time, more people looked at the voice in the sky. This was a majestic man with a determined expression. His figure was tall and straight, like a sharp sword that pierced through heaven and earth. On his sleeve, an ancient sword was embroidered, inserted into an ancient pond. This was the symbol of the Sword Pool Palace. Why, below, the Tsang family's elder was covered in blood, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. They were both in the harmonious spirit realm, but the gap between him and the man in the sky was too big. "Why did you stop me?" My Tsong family has never offended the Sword Pool Palace. The great elder of the Tsong family gasped for breath and roared. In all directions, the eyes of the Tsong family's disciples and elders were also filled with unwillingness and fear. Why? In midair, the majestic man said sternly, "Who dares to touch my Lin family, die." Lin family. Everyone was stunned, and they looked at Lin Xian. Could it be that Lin Xian was from the Sword Pool Palace? In midair, the majestic man continued, "Who dares to touch my nephew? That's an additional crime. All of you will have to suffer the pain of 10,000 swords piercing your hearts." What? Nephew. Nephew. Everyone was stunned, and they felt that their minds were blank. The people of the Tsong family were even more stunned. The brat they killed was obviously a warrior from the Cloud Prefecture. When did he become a disciple of the Sword Pool Palace? Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary disciple of the Sword Pool Palace. They recognized the man in the sky. He was a peerless expert of the Sword Pool Palace. Lin Zheng, second Master Lin. Lin Xian was the nephew of the second Master Lin, and the people of the Tsong family felt like dying. Misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. The great elder of the Tsong family struggled to stand up and tried his best to explain. "Second Master Lin, this is a misunderstanding. Listen to me." Before he could finish his words, Lin Zheng looked at the elder of the Tsong family who attacked him. His eyes were sharp, and it was as if 10,000 swords were rushing out. Ah, the elder of the Tsong family, who was possessed by the green-haired man, cried out in pain. His body was full of sword holes. In an instant, he was pierced by 10,000 swords like a hedgehog. No one noticed that a mass of green aura quickly left the elder of the Tsong family and disappeared into the ground. "Who dares to touch my nephew? This is the outcome." Chapter 184. Everyone felt a chill that was even colder than the wind and snow in this world. The rest of the Tsong family's disciples were shivering, and many of them fainted. However, second Master Lin did not attack the ordinary sea of Soul Realm disciples. He only stared at the heavily injured Tsong family's great elder. The Tsong family's great elder went crazy as he looked at the sky with pleading eyes. He did not want to die. He was only a little over 100 years old. According to the lifespan of a harmonious spirit expert, he had only lived half of his life. There were many more years waiting for him to enjoy. How could he die here? However, he did not have the confidence to face second Master Lin in the sky. "This is our Tsong family's fault. We are willing to compensate with everything we have," the Tsong family's great elder said humbly. "Second Master Lin, please calm down." "Why not?" The people beside him began to persuade him. Lin Zheng did not pay attention to them and landed on the ground. "Second uncle," Lin Xian murmured, "you have grown up." Lin Zheng's eyes shone brightly. "You can finally cultivate." That year, second uncle was useless and could not protect you. But from now on, no one will dare to touch a single hair of yours. Lin Xian looked at the majestic man in front of him with excitement in his heart. "His life and death is in your hands." Lin Zheng pointed at the heavily injured great elder and said. Everyone looked at Lin Xian. The Tsong family's great elder was ashamed and angry at the same time. He did not expect that his fate would be in the hands of a young man. He was a dignified, harmonious spirit expert. However, under the current situation, he could only lower his head and admit his mistake. "Young Hero Lin, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I hope young Hero Lin will not hold a grudge against me." Everyone was in a daze. They could not believe the scene in front of them. "Second uncle, let him go," Lin Xian said indifferently. Everyone was surprised. They did not know what Lin Xian was planning. Could it be that he was soft-hearted? The Tsong family's great elder's heart was burning. As long as he could escape from this disaster, he would have plenty of chances to assassinate Lin Xian in the future. I want to end his life myself. Lin Xian's voice was like a sharp blade, piercing through the clouds. An invisible domineering aura soared to the sky. Arrogant, too arrogant. A warrior at the third level of the spiritual sea realm actually dared to threaten to slaughter a harmonious spirit realm warrior. This was practically a dream. No one believed Lin Xian's words, but Lin Zheng laughed out loud. As expected of a man from the Lin clan, you are indeed courageous. I'll leave this old dog's life to you. I believe that you'll be able to do it in no time. Everyone was speechless. This pair of father and son were too confident. The Tsang family head elder's old face swelled to the color of a pig's liver. He secretly swore in his heart that in a while he would definitely tear Lin Xian to shreds. Right at this moment, a cold voice sounded out. Lin Zheng, you seem to have forgotten something. This brat has been expelled from his family. Everyone was stunned, once again. They felt that their brains were not enough to process this. You think you can expel me just because you say so? Lin Zheng stared ahead. The patriarch of Sword Pool Manor, isn't you? Lin, this is the decision of the elders. Could it be that you want to go against it? Lin sneered. He was not afraid of Lin Zheng. Lin Xian looked at the middle-aged man. There was a ball of fire burning in his heart. That middle-aged man was Lin Xian's father. He was also the one who secretly kicked Lin Xian out of the family. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Lin Xian said in a deep voice, "Second uncle, don't worry. In the family meeting 1 year later, I will return to the family in a grand manner. I will take back all the things that originally belonged to me." Lin Xian did not say this sentence, but this was his goal. "Second uncle believes in you." Lin Zheng patted Lin Xian's shoulder and revealed a gratified smile. Originally, Lin Xian could not cultivate, causing a crisis to appear in their family. But now, everything will be fine. Lin Zheng did not leave immediately. Instead, he said to the crowd, "According to the rules of the martial arts world, if the younger generation is injured or even killed in a spar, Lin Zheng, will not say anything. However, if someone doesn't care about their status and attacks the younger generation, don't blame me for being impolite." This was a warning to Lin Xian to avoid a lot of potential dangers. All right, the matter has been resolved. Let's continue our discussion. The elder of the snow-seeking sect said. The group of elders left one after another and returned to the main hall. Lin Zheng said a few words and then stood up and left. The great elder of the Tsang clan looked deeply at Lin Xian and then left with the help of the crowd. Lin Xian didn't stop either as he quickly rushed to his residence. After he left, the news of his disappearance spread like wildfire. Almost everyone knew about Lin Xian's identity. When Lin Feng heard this, his face became extremely gloomy. "Even though I don't know how you can cultivate, a piece of trash will always be a piece of trash. I will personally kill you." When the others heard this, they were all stunned. They knew that Lin Xian was not ordinary, but they never thought that he would be a disciple of the Sword Lake Palace. Lin Xian returned to his room and closed the door. He was now in a hurry. In a year, he would return to the Sword Lake Palace and take back everything that belonged to him. Before that, he still had to be on guard against all kinds of plots. The Tsang clan would not let the matter rest, and Lin Feng's lineage would probably secretly make a move. Only with powerful strength could he deal with everything. Now that he had comprehended about 40% of the Wind inheritance, he could barely use the Wind Emperor's sword. In terms of thunder, it was also about 40%, and he could not improve it for the time being. In terms of soul power, it was also progressing step by step. However, to reach the level of a second-grade inscription master was not something that could be done in a short period of time. It was even more difficult to improve his sword intent. All he could do now was to fully fuse the power of wind and thunder. As long as he could fuse the power of wind and thunder, his strength would immediately increase. With Lord Alcohol's guidance, Lin Xian began to fuse the power of wind and thunder. In the blink of an eye, 5 days had passed. Lin Xian's room was very quiet. There was not the slightest movement. In the past few days, many people had come to visit, but they were all blocked by the array in the room. Only Lu Yang and Wei Wei were still waiting outside. On this day, an aura suddenly surged out of the quiet room. Wind and clouds surged, thunder and lightning intertwined, as a terrifying aura filled the air. However, this aura only existed for a moment before quickly disappearing. Lu Yang and Wei Wei looked at each other and stood up. Not long after, the defensive array was removed, and a delicate youth walked out. On his shoulder, a snow-white monkey was jumping happily. "Junior brother Lin, you're finally out." Wei Wei smiled. "Don't tell me you've been waiting here for a long time," Lin Xian asked as he rubbed his nose. Wei Wei rolled her eyes at him. "You're a famous person now. You don't know how many people were at your door 2 days ago." Lin Xian: "All right, we're here to tell you that there's a celebration tomorrow. We hope you can attend it with us." Celebration? Lin Xian clearly wasn't interested. "I heard that the heroes of the younger generation are all here. There will definitely be a lot of sparring," Lu Yang said. "Sparring?" Lin Xian's interest was piqued. Chapter 185. "I'll go tomorrow." Lin Xian smiled indifferently. After receiving Lin Xian's reply, Lu Yang and Wei Wei went back to report. "Let me see how powerful the geniuses on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard are." Lin Xian had a trace of anticipation in his heart. This was a grand event. The top few martial artists on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard would probably participate. Lin Xian could use this opportunity to understand the strength of Lin Feng and the others. At the same time, he could also test his current strength. Not only Lin Xian, but the young disciples who came here were all looking forward to tomorrow's sparring competition. If they could shine in this kind of competition, they would definitely be famous in Great Xia. After all, forces from all 7 states were gathered here. The next day, Lin Xian first went to the residence of the Black Sky sect and paid a visit to Elder Duanmu and the others. Elder Duanmu and the others sighed. They did not expect Lin Xian to be a disciple of the Sword Pool Mansion. "You are a hidden dragon. One day, you will fly to the 9 heavens. The Black Sky sect is too small to accommodate you." Elder Duanmu sighed. "I only hope that when the Black Sky sect is in trouble, you can help." "Elders, don't worry. Lin Xian, will always be a disciple of the Black Sky sect," Lin Xian said seriously. After leaving the small courtyard of the Black Sky sect, Lin Xian came to the courtyard of the elders of the 10,000 Treasure Tower. Lu Yang and Wei Wei were already waiting there. Lin Xian smiled and went over to greet them. Not long after, the red and white elders and Elder Gu walked out of the house. "Let's go," Elder Gu said indifferently. On the path made of ice and snow, there were many people moving and bustling. All the forces were heading towards the main venue. That was where the banquet was held. After passing through the pavilions and gardens, Lin Xian and the others arrived at the main venue. This was a square that was nearly 1,000 meters wide. It was completely blue and made of 1,000-year-old ice. It shone with a cold light under the sun. Countless patterns were carved on the ground. There were birds and beasts, all kinds of plum blossoms, and so on. It was exceptionally beautiful. Lin Xian and the others walked towards the arranged seats. These seats were arranged according to strength. This world was realistic. If you had strength, you would be respected by everyone. The 10,000 Treasure Tower was also a large force in Great Xia, so their seats were closer to the front. Lin Xian and the others sat and tasted the exquisite food on the table while looked at the martial artists coming and going. Were above them were the three forces Lin Shui, and sect the three major forces, the earth, the fire sect, and the blue moon sect. Lin Xian, I won't let you off. Yan Hui looked at Lin Xian with hatred on his face. He had now become the laughingstock of everyone, which drove him crazy. Yuan Hong was also filled with grief and indignation. She wanted nothing more than to rip Lin Xian apart. Yan Hui, you can do anything you want to Lin Xian during the sparring later. This is what I want. The master he was referring to was naturally Lin of the Lin family. Yesterday, Lin Zheng already said that the older generation could not make a move, but the younger generation could. Today, there would probably be many young disciples who would make a move on Lin Xian. Wuji, the snow-white monkey kept jumping on the table, eating happily. Until now, Lin Xian did not find anything special about the snow-white monkey. However, this guy could eat a lot. In the distance, the Lin family disciples saw Lin Xian and had different expressions. The youths around Lin Xian all had mocking expressions, looking at Lin Xian with disdain. Humph, this trash can actually come here. How rare. I heard that he can cultivate, but I don't think he's that strong. That's right. Third layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Brother Feng can crush him with one finger. On the other hand, some of the other youths looked excited, especially the boy and girl beside Lin Zheng, who were waving their little fists. Brother Xian, it's really Brother Xian. Dad, why doesn't Brother Xian come and sit with us? The girl asked, innocently. Lin Zheng rubbed the girl's hair dotingly. Now is not the time. Soon, he'll be back very soon. Sensing their gazes, Lin Xian smiled and waved his hand. The snow-white monkey on the table also made funny faces happily. Lu Yang kept exclaiming, I didn't think that Meng Yan would come too. Lin Xian was slightly moved and looked at a youth in the distance. He was wearing a fiery red robe and sat proudly, faintly exuding a domineering aura. Flames danced on his body from time to time, and the 1,000-year-old ice around him showed signs of melting. Meng Yan ranked first on the Hidden Dragon ranking. His strength was unfathomable, and even Lin Feng was not his match. The one opposite him should be Yu Xianzi, Vivian exclaimed. Yu Xianzi Yusun ranked second on the Hidden Dragon ranking, her strength second only to Meng Yan. Apart from her strength, her appearance was unparalleled, and it would not be an exaggeration to call her a celestial. Many of the surrounding male disciples were secretly sizing her up, and their eyes were filled with admiration. Of course, many of them were also looking at Yu Xianzi. In terms of appearance, the two of them were similar. One was incomparably cold and elegant, while the other was incomparably lively. It could be said that they each had their own merits. Next to Yu Xianzi sat a stern-looking youth. He did not say a word and drank alone. He held the wine cup in one hand, and the other hand pressed against the long saber. He never left. This should be Lung Yidao. Lin Xian guessed. He felt a sharp aura from the youth. As if he had sensed Lin Xian's gaze, Lung Yidao looked over. His gaze was cold, as if a sharp saber had slashed across. The people around Lin Xian tensed up, as if they had been struck by a long saber. It was an extremely uncomfortable feeling. Only Lin Xian was unaffected. The sword intent in his body surged, resisting the sharp gaze. This aura is similar to my sword intent. Is it saber intent? Lin Xian was surprised. It seems that the experts on the Hidden Dragon role really live up to their reputation. Seeing that Lin Xian was unaffected, Lung Yidao was also very surprised. He stared at Lin Xian carefully, as if to confirm something. However, when he saw Lin Xian's cultivation, he immediately lost interest and shook his head, no longer paying attention. As more and more people took their seats, the atmosphere became more and more lively. Lin Xian looked around and had a general understanding of the situation. The three strongest people were Meng Yan, Yu Sun, and Lin Feng. They were the three giants on the hidden dragon roll, and no one could defeat them. Below them were Yu Xianzi, Leng Yidao, and the others. They belonged to the second level. As for the third level, there were even more people. Yan Hui, Yuan Hong, Lu Yang, Wei Wei, and the others belonged to the third level. Lin Xian compared his strength with theirs. He felt that if it was just a competition, he would be at the peak of the third level and could barely enter the second level. Lin Xian was not discouraged. He was different from the others. Strictly speaking, he had only cultivated for less than a year. Within a year, he had grown from a young man who knew nothing to his current strength. It was enough to scare everyone present. If it was a life and death battle, it would be a different phenomenon. Lin Xian had many trump cards in his hands. It would not be difficult for him to kill the martial artists on the second level. Of course, those people were disciples of the major forces. They would definitely have many trump cards in their hands. After having a general understanding of his strength, Lin Xian began to wait for the banquet to begin. Not long after, a group of people walked over. The person in the lead was the sect leader of the snow-seeking sect. "10,000 treasure towers, Lu Yang, has come to ask for advice." Lin Xian was slightly surprised. He had only seen Lu Yang and Vivian fight on the way to the snow-seeking sect, but he did not know the specifics. "Take my fist." After Shi Dong finished his greeting, he punched out with both of his fists. His powerful spiritual energy turned into a sea of fire that spread out in all directions. Boundless ocean. Lu Yang smiled as palm shadows filled the sky. They were like a blue ocean, bringing with them an endless aura. Back then, when he faced over a dozen wolf bandits, he was able to hold his ground. It was obvious that his strength was extraordinary. A sea of fire against a wave of water. The two extreme forces clashed, causing the air to tremble. The two forces melted into each other, forming a white cloud that covered the surroundings. Fire phoenix wings. Without hesitation, Shi Dong struck out with his strongest attack. A big bird bathed in flames soared into the sky and pounced towards Lu Yang. Many young disciples exclaimed. They still remembered this move. Lu Yang did not panic. Instead, he used his soul power to find the weakness of the fire phoenix. Lin Xian smiled. He knew that Lu Yang would definitely win. This was the advantage of having a strong soul power. He could quickly find the opponent's weakness. Sure enough, after a few breaths, Lu Yang's eyes lit up. Flood dragon travels the four seas. The spiritual energy in his body vibrated and formed a blue flood dragon. It was ferocious and terrifying. With a swing of its giant tail, the blue flood dragon rushed towards the fire phoenix in the sky and bit the weak spot of its spiritual energy. Shi Dong's face turned pale as he kept retreating. He only managed to stabilize his body after taking 8 or 9 steps back. Impressive. Suppressing the chaotic spiritual energy in his body, Shi Dong said with lingering fear. Nice. The young disciples kept cheering and applauding. Elder Goose stroked his beard and smiled. Not bad, not bad. Lu Yang's boundless ocean technique is considered to have reached the small success stage. Humph, let me have a try. A soft snort sounded. Then, a sword radiance flashed across the sky like a lightning bolt. Lu Yang's face darkened. This person attacked without saying a word. He was too arrogant. Boundless ocean. The palm shadows were like waves. One after another, they formed a wave that was a few meters tall and surged forward. It's useless. Yan Si has mastered the golden snake sword to 60%. His strength is around 40th on the hidden dragon roll. He's not someone that the brat can fight against. The disciples of the Golden Sword sect sneered while Yan Hui stared at Lin Xian. TSK, TSK, TSK. The huge wave that was a few meters tall was torn apart like a piece of cloth. The sword, radiance, curved forward like a golden snake coming out of its hole. Poof. The protective spiritual energy on Lu Yang's shoulder was pierced, and a thumb-sized hole appeared. Boom, boom, boom. Fortunately, he was wearing armor, and the sword radiance did not injure him directly. However, that fierce attack almost caused his right shoulder to split open. Yan Si did not stop after the successful attack. Instead, he continued to attack. Elder Gu's face darkened, and he snorted. Everyone could see that Lu Yang had lost. However, the disciples of the Golden Sword sect continued to attack. They were clearly picking a fight. Lin Xian's face turned cold. He knew that the Golden Sword sect hated him, and Lu Yang was just implicated. TSK. The glaring sword radiance lit up and slashed Lu Yang's body. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. Boom. Lu Yang landed on the ground with a pale face. Ouch. I didn't control my strength well. Sorry. Yan Si's tone was provocative. Everyone was silent. Many people knew about the incident between the Golden Sword sect and Lin Xian. Now that Lin Xian was in the Thousand Treasure Tower, it naturally made the Golden Sword sect unhappy. A few disciples of the Thousand Treasure Tower helped Lu Yang down to his seat. I'm sorry, I've implicated you. Lin Xian apologetically handed him a cup of spiritual wine. Lu Yang shook his head. This guy is too arrogant. He really thinks that the Thousand Treasure Tower is easy to bully. Yang, heal your injuries first, Elder Gu said. Elder Gu and the rest did not blame Lin Xian. When they pulled Lin Xian into the Thousand Treasure Tower's camp, they already thought of this. However, they were certain that the benefits of befriending Lin Xian outweighed the harm. In the square, Yan Si looked arrogant. He tilted his sword and looked at Lin Xian. Kid, do you dare to come out and play? Lin Xian stood up slowly. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Chapter 187. He's Lin Xian, the young man who was chased out of the Swordpool Mansion. For a moment, everyone was talking about it. Humph, a piece of trash who was chased out of his family. What's there to be arrogant about? The disciples of the Golden Sword sect and the Yuan clan sneered. Lin Feng's disciples also mocked Third Spiritual Ocean Tier. So weak, won't he be beaten to death? It's best if he dies, so he won't embarrass the Lin clan. Lin Feng also looked at the square with a playful expression, his eyes cold. Brother Xian, go for it. Lin Xing and Lin Yu shouted loudly, cheering for Lin Xian. They were the children of the second master of the Lin clan and could be considered Lin Xian's cousin. They were very close. I didn't expect you to dare to come out. Yan Si sneered. Although you have guts, you're too stupid. Too much nonsense. Hurry up and attack. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. You're courting death. Yan Si's eyes widened in anger as he shouted. His body slid out strangely, and the long sword in his hand transformed into thousands of sword rays. Golden Snake Dance. It was as if thousands of spiritual snakes had come out of their caves, strange and vicious. It's actually this move. The people of the Golden Sword sect are really ruthless. Many cultivators whispered with a hint of fear in their eyes. The disciples of the Golden Sword sect were delighted. They actually used this move. That Lin Xian is dead meat. Yuan Hong sneered. She couldn't wait for Lin Xian to die here. Only Yan Hui frowned slightly. He had fought with Lin Xian before, so he naturally knew how strong Lin Xian was. The sword rays flashed and arrived in front of Lin Xian in an instant. Lin Xian didn't dodge, waiting quietly. Haha, he's scared silly. The people of the Golden Sword sect laughed wildly. Yan Si also had a hideous smile. He didn't expect the legendary Lin Xian to be so weak. Just as the tip of the sword was about to touch Lin Xian, he suddenly moved. Lin Xian stretched out 2 fingers and gently pinched. The silhouettes of the spirit snakes that filled the sky disappeared as if they had been forcefully erased by someone. Everyone was slightly stunned. Then, they realized that Yan Si's longsword was being held tightly by Lin Xian. Lin Xian was indeed not a simple person to be able to find the real sword in an instant from so many sword shadows. Many of the elders present nodded slightly. Impossible. How did you find it? Yan For was shocked. He had already mastered the golden snake swordsmanship to 60%, and this wild dance of the golden snake was his ultimate skill. Quite a few martial artists of the same level were defeated by his sword, but Lin Xian, a martial artist of the third sky of the spiritual ocean realm, actually blocked it. He didn't know that Lin Xian's purple spirit eyes could see through all illusions. In Lin Xian's eyes, the swordsmanship he was so proud of could not even withstand a single blow. Is this all you've got? Lin Xian smirked. How disappointing. Many martial artists looked at each other. Yan For was ranked 40th on the Hidden Dragon roll, and he was considered very powerful. However, Lin Xian was very disappointed. This was too much of a blow to him. Yan For was so angry that he was shaking. He was the second most powerful person in the Golden Sword sect, who wasn't afraid of him. Now, he was being looked down upon. Go to hell. A powerful aura surged from his body, and he was about to use his ultimate skill again. Lin Xian moved his fingers, and a streak of powerful lightning flowed into Yan For's body through his long sword. There was an explosion. Yan For froze as if he was struck by lightning. He couldn't move at all. His right hand that was holding the sword was charred, and he stumbled back 2 steps. Bam! Lin Xian held his long sword and hit Yan For's chest with the hilt, sending him flying. Plop! Yan For's body landed more than 10 meters away, and he couldn't stop twitching. Buzz! His long sword was thrown out, and it sank into the ice on the ground with a clank. The sword was shaking nonstop. Too weak. Is there no one who can fight me? Lin Xian asked calmly. You puff. Yan For was lying on the ground. After hearing this, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. The crowd was in an uproar, and they all looked at Lin Xian strangely. 3rd spiritual ocean tier cultivation, but he can defeat a martial artist in the 4th spiritual ocean tier in 1 hit. His ability should be at the peak of the 4th spiritual ocean tier, and he is infinitely close to the 5th spiritual ocean tier. The elders of many forces sighed. It seemed like the Sword Pool Mansion was indeed a place where monsters were born. First, there was Lin Feng, who comprehended sword intent, and his ability was ridiculously strong. Now, there was Lin Xian, who could even fight against those of a higher level. Humph, this is obviously a spar. How can you be so vicious? The elder of the Golden Sword sect was furious. I feel like I have to teach you a lesson. I didn't control my strength well. Sorry, Lin Xian said calmly. The elder of the Golden Sword sect was trembling in anger. Yan For had just said this arrogantly, but he didn't expect Lin Xian to return it in the blink of an eye. Good job, Junior Brother Lin. Lu Yang had just finished adjusting his body when he saw this scene. He couldn't help but shout, Humph. Second Master Lin also snorted coldly. The elder of the Golden Sword sect glared at Lin Xian fiercely before sitting down angrily. I'll do it. Beside him, a disciple of the Yuan clan stood up and stared at Lin Xian with an unfriendly expression. It's Yuan Li, the person from Yuan clan, who is ranked 33rd. Someone exclaimed. The kid with the surname Lin is in danger. Every time he advances in the hidden dragon ranking, his ability will change tremendously. This Yuan Li is several times stronger than Yen 4, and he's a body-refining martial artist. The crowd was a little nervous, not knowing how this battle would turn out. Ice Fairy looked at Lin Xian with a hint of worry. "Sister, you seem to care a lot." Beside her, Yu Sun chuckled. She was a very enchanting lady. Every frown and smile of hers could affect one's heart. Many martial artists secretly drooled when they saw her smile just now. "This Lin Xian is very special. I can't see through him," Ice Fairy said. Yu Sun wanted to tease Ice Fairy, but Lung Yidao, who had always been cold, suddenly spoke. "Lin Xian is stronger than we thought. Yuan Li is no match for him." "Oh, you know that?" Yu Sun smiled charmingly. Lung Yidao shook his head and didn't say anything else. Yu Sun rolled her eyes at him. Lung Yidao had comprehended Saber intent, and his willpower was very strong. He wasn't affected by her lunar soul cultivation technique at all. In the square, Lin Xian looked at Yuan Li and said coldly, "You're no match for me. Arrogant. He's too arrogant. Brother Li, teach him a lesson." The disciples of the Yuan clan shouted. "Mountain uprooting." Yuan Li straightened his body, raised his hands, and slammed them down. A majestic mountain appeared in the air. It was as heavy as 1,000 kilograms, as if it was a real mountain. In an instant, the air was filled with a heart-palpitating pressure. Many martial artists couldn't circulate their blood chi smoothly. "Fall." Yuan Li shouted loudly as he raised his hand, and throughout the huge mountain, the wind whistled, and the air was compressed. Rumbling sounds could be heard. Lin Xian's body flashed, and he disappeared. "What? He can break free from the mountain?" The disciples of the Yuan clan were shocked. Yuan Li frowned. This wasn't a normal attack. Any martial artist who was enveloped by the mountain would be trapped in a small space and couldn't escape. However, Lin Xian was an exception. Whoosh! His body flashed, and he appeared beside Yuan Li. Close combat. Yuan Li laughed. He was a body-refining martial artist, and close combat was his forte. In his opinion, Lin Xian's actions were akin to courting death. In the distance, the disciples of the Yuan clan sneered. "Close combat with Brother Li? What an idiot!" Chapter 188. Oh no! Could it be that Lin Xian doesn't know that Yuan Li is a body-refining martial artist? All around, martial artists cried out in surprise. "Mountain chop!" Yuan Li's palm chopped down mercilessly like a giant axe. Whoosh! Lin Xian's body swayed again, and the power of wind and thunder fluctuated in the air, leaving behind an afterimage. Yuan Li's palm chopped through the air, and his tyrannical aura was like a ferocious beast, tearing the air apart. "Lightning storm," Lin Xian pointed out, and the power of wind and thunder gushed out from his body. A fierce wind blew, and countless lightning bolts fell from the sky, turning into lightning dragons, releasing violent energy. Within 10 meters of Lin Xian, everything became a sea of wind and thunder. It's actually the rare power of wind and thunder. No wonder this kid has the strength to fight above his level. Didn't think that he actually comprehended the power of wind and thunder. Some elders exclaimed in surprise. Second Master Lin was pleasantly surprised. Looks like Xian'er's fortuitous encounter wasn't small. Not only can he cultivate, but he also grasped this kind of power. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. A bit interesting, but too weak. After the violent wind and lightning disappeared, Lin Xian stood there calmly while Yuan Li's entire body was charred black. He was in an extremely sorry state. He opened his mouth slightly, and a puff of black smoke came out of his mouth. Yuan clan's disciples hurried forward and helped him down. Yuan clan's elders' faces darkened. They didn't think that Lin Xian was actually so difficult to deal with. Even Yuan Li, who was ranked 33rd, wasn't his match. What kind of freak is this kid? He's only at the 3rd sky of the spiritual ocean tier. How can he have such strong attack power? This kid's battle prowess should be on par with a martial artist at the initial stage of the 5th sky of the spiritual ocean tier, but compared to a 5th sky of the spiritual ocean tier, he's still a bit weaker. The elders of various factions changed their evaluation of Lin Xian once again. Who else? Lin Xian's voice was steady as he looked towards Yan Hui. Golden Sword Sect and Yuan clan's disciples all looked towards Yan Hui. Now, only he could defeat Lin Xian. Yan Hui's eyes flashed as he slowly stood up. I admit that you're indeed stronger than I imagined, but you're still not my match. Yan Hui's voice was cold and carried a chill. I want everyone to know that you're just a piece of trash. Even if you can play some tricks in front of true strength, you're still nothing. You've said so much. Make your move. Lin Xian sneered. Yan Hui held the long sword in his hand, and the aura on his body gradually grew stronger, stirring up the surrounding air. In the end, it was as if there were 5 layers of invisible waves around him that kept shaking. 5th level of Sea of Souls realm. He actually broke through. Everyone exclaimed and stared blankly at Yan Hui. Originally, Yan Hui was already very scary and was ranked 32nd on the Hidden Dragon ranking. Now that his cultivation had broken through, his ranking had risen by at least 5 places. In fact, he might even be ranked in the top 25. This was already a very abnormal strength, apart from the 1st and 2nd gradient martial artists. Yan Hui was considered a top existence in the 3rd gradient. With your strength, I'm afraid you can't even break through my defense. How are you going to fight me? Yan Hui sneered. After entering the 5th layer of the spiritual ocean realm, Yan Hui had absolute confidence. He wanted to ruthlessly beat Lin Xian to the ground. Only then would he be able to relieve the hatred in his heart. Draw your sword, or else you won't have the chance to make your move. Yan Hui's voice echoed in the surroundings. What? Lin Xian is a sword cultivator? Many people were puzzled. Most of the martial artists here did not stay in Ice Snow City for long, so naturally they did not know about Lin Xian's battle in Ice Snow City. And of those martial artists who knew, most of them did not have the qualifications to participate in such a feast. As you wish. Lin Xian flipped his palm, and the autumn scar sword appeared in his hand. F***CK. He really is a sword cultivator. Many people cursed in a low voice. The people of Sword Pool Palace are indeed abnormal. Second Master Lin was also interested. I wonder what kind of sword skill Xian can use. Lin Feng's face was full of disdain. Their Sword Pool Palace's sword skills were the sharpest sword skills. Lin Xian was just a piece of trash studying in Cloud State. What kind of good skills could he have? Let me see how thick your tortoiseshell is. Lin Xian's body shook, and he turned into a flash of wind and lightning as he charged out. Mad Dance of the Golden Snakes. Yan Hui also used this move. However, unlike Yan Si, his move was even more powerful. Yan Si could only create 10,000 snake shadows, but the attack was still the long sword itself. But Yan Hui was different. Each of his shadows was an attack, and his own golden sword was hidden within them. It could be said that this was a large-scale killing move. PFFF. PFFF. Within a radius of a few dozen meters, some of the ice was pierced through. Lin Xian moved quickly, dodging these sword chi. Ever since he merged with the power of wind and thunder, his strength had increased by a level in all aspects. His speed had increased greatly, and his phantom thunder steps had evolved into the wind and thunder steps. In almost the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Yan Hui. Wind and thunder cut. He pulled out the autumn scar sword, and the sword light shone brightly. Everything in front of him seemed to have been cut open, and it was dislocated. PFFF. The sharp sword light flashed, and Yen Hui's protective spiritual armor was cut open. There was still a trace of the power of wind and thunder left on it, constantly destroying the spiritual armor. What? He can actually break open the defense of a fifth sky of the spiritual ocean realm, many martial artists exclaimed, and some powerful young martial artists also looked solemn. Being able to cut open the defense meant that Lin Xian might be able to injure them. This was simply a miracle for a third sky of the spiritual ocean realm martial artist. Yen Hui's pupils constricted, and he retreated quickly, dodging Lin Xian's attack. Putting away his contempt, Yen Hui's aura increased again. You should be proud that you made me attack with my full strength. 10,000 snakes strike. With a swing of his sword, tens of thousands of sword lights flew out, turning into spiritual snakes that were ferocious and terrifying. Each spiritual snake was 10 meters long and 1 meter thick. Like terrifying demonic beasts, they quickly pounced on Lin Xian. Wind and thunder sword ripple. Lin Xian stabbed out, and the air rippled like water ripples. A layer of green-gold sword chi quickly spread out. Wherever it passed, everything was cut open. PFFF. PFFF. With Lin Xian as the center, the wind and thunder sword ripple spread in all directions. All the spiritual snakes that touched it were all turned into powder. With one sword, he broke Yen Hui's attack. What an exquisite sword ripple! What kind of martial skill is this? Many martial artists were surprised. Ice Fairy Lung Yidao and the others were also slightly surprised. They had never seen such a sword skill. Lin Feng narrowed his eyes and stared at the square, saying in a low voice, "It's like some kind of sound wave martial skill. The sword chi is released in the form of vibration, and the power will increase many times. Looks like you're not completely useless. At least you're a little useful." After a successful strike, Lin Xian quickly attacked. The wind and thunder sword ripple was launched again, forming a terrifying area attack. Yen Hui's face was gloomy. His figure flashed quickly, escaping from Lin Xian's attack range. He could vaguely feel that the sword ripple could cut open his defense. Damn it, how can he cut open my defense? Yen Hui did not understand. In the last battle, Lin Xian had almost used all his strength to break open his defense. Now, his cultivation had increased, but Lin Xian could easily hurt him. Chapter 189. Yen Hui was as agile as a snake as he dodged the wind and thunder sword wave. The golden snake sword in his hand quickly touched the ground, and a circle of golden ripples spread out. Right now, he could not even get close to Lin Xian, so he could only attack from afar. The ground shook as if there was a giant dragon rolling. Lin Xian sensed the change under his feet, and his body flew back like a feather. Boom, boom. The ice surface cracked open, and a thick sword chi formed into a golden snake head, swallowing Lin Xian in one gulp. Nice. Good job, senior brother Yen Hui. The disciples of the Golden Sword sect cheered. Is Lin Xian going to lose just like that? The other warriors were shocked. The sword light formed the snake head, and streaks of sword chi shot out toward Lin Xian. Humph! Open! Lin Xian slashed out with the autumn scar sword in his hand, and a green-gold sword chi burst out like a peerless blade. Shoo! Shoo! A dazzling light appeared, and the wind and thunder sword chi pierced through the spirit snake shadow, tearing a hole in it. Like the sun piercing through the clouds, the crack became bigger in an instant. A vigorous power poured out, and a 12-meter-long sword chi drew an arc in the air. Not only was the spirit snake cut open, but a long crack appeared on the ice surface as well. The cut was smooth, and there was not a single crack. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Lin Xian's attack power was too shocking, far beyond their imagination. Wind style. Lin Xian touched the ground with his feet and started to counterattack. The air suddenly cracked open, and a half-moon-shaped wind and thunder sword chi poured out, attacking Yan Hui at an unbelievable angle. Crack, crack, crack. Lin Xian kept waving his long sword, and dozens of sword chi surrounded Yan Hui from all directions. Thousand snake greeting. Yan Hui was shocked and angry at the same time, and he crazily channeled his spirit power. He raised his sword high and made a gesture of worship. A strange energy was emitted from his body. However, Lin Xian did not give him a chance to attack. His eyes gradually turned sharp, and his body became ethereal like the wind. Wind Emperor's Sword. This was Lin Xian's first time using the Wind Emperor's Sword. Although it wasn't complete, its power far exceeded the Wind Fusion Stance and other moves. With a thrust of his sword, Lin Xian's body seemed to have turned into the wind, becoming blurry and indistinct. What kind of sword skill is this? Everyone was shocked. Lin Xian had given them too many surprises. Every time, he was able to shock them. Even some of the elders fell into deep thought when they saw this sword. An extremely fast sword thrust towards Yan Hui. The aura that Yan Hui had condensed instantly disappeared without a trace, like a puncture balloon. Puff. Yan Hui retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not expect Lin Xian's sword to be so fast, causing him to fall short of success. You are very strong, but if you think you can defeat me like this, then you are too naive. The light in Yan Hui's eyes gradually turned sharp. The sword mark on his forehead started to melt. Is it finally going to be solved? The elders of the Golden Sword sect looked expectant. This is such a powerful aura. The surrounding cultivators were shocked, and so were the elders. Yu Xinzi looked at the field and seemed to have thought of something. Is he going to solve the power of the sword mark? Lin Feng frowned. Is that piece of trash really that strong? He actually made Yan Hui release the power of the seal. A trace of worry appeared on Second Master Lin's face. He looked at the field and tapped his fingers on the table. I haven't used my full strength in a long time. Soon, you will know what fear is. The spiritual energy on Yan Hui's body was like a burning flame, and his aura was like a tidal wave. Is this your full strength? Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile. It's barely enough for me to use my full strength. His voice was not loud, but everyone heard it clearly. What? What is he saying? He's going to use his full strength? Brag as much as you can. Senior brother, Yan will beat you until you can't stand up. The people of the Golden Sword sect hooted. No one believed him. They all thought that Lin Xian was bluffing. Bang! Yan Hui stomped his foot on the ground and turned into a wave of qi behind him. His entire body was as fast as a sword. The air in front of him was sucked dry, and deep cracks appeared on the ground. This sword was too powerful. Many people were worried for Lin Xian. Lin Xian's black hair fluttered in the wind. His sword intent surged, and his aura instantly rose to the peak. Wind Emperor's Sword. The sword stabbed forward. It was ordinary, as if it was just a casual attack. However, there were too many things contained within this sword. The higher the cultivation level of those who saw this sword, the more astonished they were. It was as if 1,000 waves had set off in their hearts. This sword was very slow. Everyone could see Lin Xian's every move clearly. However, when they wanted to take a closer look, they realized that the sword had already stabbed forward. Yan Hui could feel the terrifying power of this sword. He tried his best to dodge, but his body did not seem to be under his control. He crashed into the sword. Pooh! Bright red blood splattered everywhere. Yan Hui was sent flying. Senior brother Yan, The people of the Golden Sword sect cried out in alarm. Everyone looked at Lin Xian in a daze. They did not expect such an outcome. The young disciples looked at each other, but the older generation looked solemn. That aura just now, could it be? Lung Yidao stared at Lin Xian. His eyes were filled with battle intent. Sword intent. It must be sword intent. Only sword intent can make me so excited. In the area of the Lin family, second master Lin was pleasantly surprised. He was trembling slightly. Sword intent. Little Xian has comprehended sword intent. Ha! Lin Feng's face was gloomy. He had also comprehended sword intent. He could feel the aura more clearly than anyone else. This piece of trash has comprehended sword intent? How is that possible? He was a little annoyed, and even a little uneasy. What's wrong with me? He's just a piece of trash. Even if he has comprehended sword intent, he's still a piece of trash. Lin Feng took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Lin, who was next to him, looked gloomy. He did not say anything, but his heart was filled with killing intent towards Lin Xian. He looked at Lin Xian deeply. Lin's eyes flashed with killing intent. Whoosh! Lin Xian turned around and looked at the area of the Lin family with a cold gaze. Those Lin family disciples trembled, as if they had been swept by a sword. What sharp senses! Lin was surprised, but he did not show it. Lin Xian turned around silently. He had clearly felt a cold killing intent from somewhere just now. However, this killing intent was hidden very well and disappeared in a flash. He did not need to think to know that it was definitely Lin and the others. His heart trembled, and he was secretly on guard. After defeating Yan Hui, Lin Xian did not have any intention of attacking again. He turned around and returned to his seat. The young disciples of the Golden Sword sect looked at Lin Xian in horror, their eyes filled with fear. As for their elders, they stared fiercely at Lin Xian. However, no one dared to make a move. Lin Zheng's warning was still echoing in their ears. Even if they wanted to make a move, they would do it secretly. They could not let anyone have any evidence against them. After a moment of silence, the performance competition continued. This time, the top 20 cultivators of the Hidden Dragon ranking would make a move. A fierce battle was about to begin. Chapter 190. Lung Yidao stood up slowly. With a flash, he arrived at the square. Lung Yidao from Snow-Seeking Sect. Who wants to fight me? Everyone's eyes were burning with excitement. Even Lin Xian's eyes were filled with anticipation. Swish! A figure dashed out like a ball of flame crashing into the ground. Zhang Guang from Earth Fire Sect. Great! Lung Yidao was expressionless as his aura gradually rose. Swoosh! A dazzling saber radiance lit up as Lung Yidao appeared on the other side. Clang! Lung Yidao sheathed his saber and stood proudly. That's it? Everyone looked at each other, not understanding what had happened. However, the elders from various forces nodded slightly. The martial artists from the first and second echelon looked solemn. Junior brother Lin, what happened? Lu Yang and Wei Wei didn't understand either. They could only ask Lin Xian, who was beside them. What a fast saber! Lin Xian's body tensed up as he said in a deep voice. In that instant, he struck out 9 times. Every saber was aimed at Zhang Guang's vital points. If it was a battle of life and death, Zhang Guang would be dead by now. 9 sabers. Lu Yang and Wei Wei were stunned. They didn't even see one saber. Both of them were top 50 martial artists on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard, but they didn't even see Lung Yidao's attack clearly. At the same time, they were surprised by Lin Xian's strength again. Swish! Swish! Zhang Guang's armor shattered and fell to the ground. Thank you. Thank you for showing mercy. Zhang Guang's face was filled with fear. In that instant, he felt the threat of death. Who else would like to fight? Lung Yidao looked calm. Next, a few more people attacked. They were top 20 martial artists on the Hidden Dragon leaderboard, but they couldn't block Lung Yidao's saber skills. In every battle, he would end it with one saber. Such a fast saber skill. It's similar to the Wind Emperor's sword, Lin Xian murmured. He was inspired by Lung Yidao's saber skills. At the same time, he had a deeper understanding of the Wind Emperor's sword. Maybe my Wind Emperor's sword can reach this speed. Lin Xian's eyes lit up. Swish. After sending the last opponent flying with one strike, Lung Yidao stood in the field. No one dared to challenge him. His gaze swept around, and wherever he looked, the martial artists lowered their heads. Suddenly, his gaze fell on Lin Xian. One breath, 2 breaths. Lung Yidao's gaze did not leave. Is he going to fight with Lin Xian? Everyone was shocked. Lin Xian was also slightly taken aback, but his expression did not change. We'll fight again when you've grown up, Lung Yidao said in a deep voice instead of attacking. Sure. Lin Xian smiled. I look forward to that day. Lin Xian calmly agreed. Lung Yidao actually made Lin Xian his opponent. Looks like this Lin Xian's potential is truly terrifying. Many warriors stared deeply at Lin Xian, their eyes filled with dread. Lung Yidao looked away and stared at Lin Feng. His aura continued to rise, and a sharp saber intent burst out. Can we fight? Lung Yidao asked in a deep voice. You're no match for me, Lin Feng said arrogantly. We'll know whether I'm a match for you after we fight. Lung Yidao took a step forward, and azure-cold air gushed out in all directions. The shocking saber intent seemed to be able to split the sky. Everyone felt a chill in their hearts, as if their souls were being suppressed. Is this saber intent? It's terrifying. In the same realm, no one is his match. Many cultivators smiled wryly. In the face of such an aura, they could not control their bodies, let alone attack. Lin Feng's white robe was whiter than snow. He took a step forward and instantly arrived at the square. He held the long sword at his waist, and an invisible wave spread out. At this moment, everyone's weapons were buzzing and trembling, as if they were about to soar into the sky. Many warriors could only struggle to hold on to their weapons, their faces filled with horror. Apart from the elders of various forces, only Meng Yan, Yu Sun, Lung Yidao, and Lin Xian were not affected. The former two were stronger than Lin Feng, so they were not affected. The latter two were, because they had comprehended saber and sword intent. Sensing Lin Feng's strength, Lung Yidao looked dignified. He raised his long saber high and stared straight ahead. Take my saber. Lung Yidao's speed was extremely fast. His body turned into a thin line as he rushed forward. The saber was shining with cold light, cutting the air in half, and countless waves of chi rolled behind him. Cut! An illusory saber shadow swept past everyone's hearts, making them tremble. Lin Feng pulled out his long sword, and his sword intent soared into the sky. The huge sword chi seemed to be able to cut the sky and the earth. The two astonishing wills collided, constantly rubbing against each other in the air, and even produced thunder and lightning. It was as if the world was about to be destroyed. Thunder and lightning intertwined, and fine sword chi and saber light were everywhere within 100 meters. Ah, Lung Yidao shouted, and his saber intent burst out to the extreme, annihilating everything. On the opposite side, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly became sharp. An even sharper chi burst out from his body, and that chi made people feel desperate. Everyone's expression became dignified. A smile appeared on Lin Feng's face. He held a glass of wine and slowly drank it. Lin Xian's knuckles turned white when he felt that power. even if it's sword intent. It has different levels. Lin Feng laughed, and a huge sword chi crashed down, shattering Lung Yidao's saber light. That sword chi continued to slash towards the crowd. Seal. The elders of the snow-seeking sect were already prepared, and a transparent ice wall emerged from the ground, forming a barrier. Boom. The sword chi hit the ice wall, producing a clanging sound, and countless white lines appeared on the wall. However, it couldn't break the ice wall. Everyone was astonished, and for the first time, they had a deep understanding of the strength of a harmonious spirit cultivator. Even someone as strong as Lin Feng couldn't break the defense of a harmonious spirit cultivator with his shocking sword intent. This was a natural mode. Once one entered the three spirit realms, the difference between their strength and the spirit sea realm was like heaven and earth. In the field, Lung Yidao's face was pale, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. Although he looked a bit dispirited, his eyes were even brighter. I didn't expect your sword intent to reach the small success level. I will challenge you again. Lung Yidao turned around and returned to his seat. Congratulations to the Lin clan for producing such a genius. Congratulations, young Master Lin Feng. Brother Yi. A group of people congratulated them. Lin Xian's heart was heavy, and he felt the pressure. Not only was Lin Feng's cultivation strong, but his sword intent had also reached the small success level. There was almost no one in the younger generation who could rival him. Such an opponent made Lin Xian excited. He felt the blood in his body boiling, and the seed of sword intent in his body was trembling, as if it was going to fly out. Small success, level sword intent? I'm looking forward to it. Lin Xian shouted in his heart. Lin Feng made Lung Yidao retreat, and then casually glanced at Lin Xian. His eyes were full of contempt. Finally, he looked at Yu Sun and Meng Yan. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, but no one knew what he was thinking. In the end, he didn't attack. Sister, why don't we exchange some pointers? Yu Sun looked at Ice Fairy with a sly look. Chapter 191. Ice Fairy nodded slightly, and her body floated out like a cloud. Everyone's hearts were burning with passion. To be able to see two peerless beauties fight, just thinking about it made them excited. Hee, I won't go easy on you. Yu Sun smiled slyly, and her spiritual power spilled out like moonlight. Silver light spilled down and intertwined into a piece in the air, covering Ice Fairy. Ice Fairy waved her hand, and the cold wind in the air swayed. A piece of frost spread, and everything within 10 meters was frozen. The silver spiritual power was also covered with a thick layer of frost and became very slow. In such a place, the combat power of an ice element warrior could be multiplied several times. Some cultivators whispered to each other, their words filled with deep dread. Under normal circumstances, no one was willing to fight with an ice element warrior in Snow Province. Yu Sun smiled gently and waved her lotus-like arm. The dreamy spiritual power was activated again. The moonlight power seemed to be able to change into any form. Even if a part of it was frozen, more of it still rushed to Ice Fairy. The two of them fought quickly, and in the blink of an eye, dozens of moves had passed. Lin Xian's purple spiritual eyes flashed as he carefully observed the situation in the field. He found that although Ice Fairy's attack was fierce, it did not cause much damage to Yu Sun. However, Yu Sun's attack was like moonlight, pervasive and causing Ice Fairy a lot of trouble. After 100 moves, Ice Fairy was grazed by a ray of moonlight and suffered some minor injuries. In the end, Yu Sun won. As a warrior ranked second on the Hidden Dragon list, Yu Sun did not cause as much of a sensation as Lin Feng. However, she defeated Ice Fairy so easily that no one dared to underestimate her. Everyone was amazed, and then looked at Meng Yan. He was the first on the Hidden Dragon list, and his strength was above Lin Feng and Yu Sun. Everyone was looking forward to him making a move. However, Meng Yen had no intention of making a move. He still sat and drank. The banquet lasted for a few more hours before it ended. Everyone returned to their residence and prepared to leave the next day. Xian, are you really not going back with me? Second Master Lin asked with concern. No, second uncle. I will go back in a year. Lin Xian's eyes were firm. After saying goodbye to second uncle Lin, Lin Xian went to the residence of Xian Tian sect again. After exchanging a few words, Lin Xian left. There's still one more year. It won't be easy to defeat Lin Feng. Lin Xian thought. Not only had Lin Feng's sword energy reached the small success level, but his cultivation had also reached the 6th celestial layer of the Ling Ocean layer. It could be said that he had no shortcomings. However, Lin Xian was not afraid. He also had sword intent and an offensive saint technique like the Great Dragon Sword Seal. With Lord Alcohol's guidance, as long as he worked hard, he would definitely catch up to Lin Feng. Elder Gu, when will the battle of the Inscription Tower begin? Lin Xian came to the Myriad Treasure Tower and asked. 3 months later, in Feng Province's Dragon Rocky City, Elder Gu said slowly, It's like this. I want to train by myself. Lin Xian said, 3 months later, I will definitely arrive at Dragoncliff City on time. Elder Gu and the others vaguely knew about his relationship with the Sword Pool Mansion, so they did not stop him. After receiving a positive response, Lin Xian's face lit up with joy. There's one more thing that I hope the elders can help me with. I hope the elders can pretend that I left with the Myriad Treasure Tower. I don't want to attract the attention of others. Lin Xian had offended many forces, and he was afraid that these people would kill him if they knew that he left alone. He was not afraid of ordinary opponents, but if an expert at the 7th Spirit Ocean Layer or the Harmonious Spirit Realm secretly attacked, he would not be able to resist. Don't worry about this. We will help you keep it a secret, Elder Gu said. Then he took out another item. This is a jade pendant that can conceal your aura. Take it with you. Thank you, Senior. Lin Xian took the jade pendant with a face full of joy. After bidding farewell to the people of the Myriad Treasure Tower, Lin Xian quietly left. Someone's here, Lord Alcohol reminded. Lin Xian's heart turned cold. He actually did not sense it, which meant that the strength of the person who came far surpassed him. Fortunately, with the jade pendant given by Elder Gu, he did not emit any aura. An obscure aura swept past, not letting go of any place. Lin Xian held his breath and remained motionless like a statue. Fortunately, the jade pendant given by Elder Gu was very magical. That aura did not detect Lin Xian's existence. When that aura disappeared, Lin Xian turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly ran out of the snow-seeking sect. Along the way, he encountered a few probing auras that were extremely powerful. It was not something that he could fight against. Lin Xian's face was cold. He did not need to think to know that it should be those old fellows from those clans. After leaving the snow-seeking sect safely, Lin Xian let out a sigh of relief. He did not stop and ran into the distance. In the secret hall of the snow-seeking sect, there was an old man with a long beard sitting on a piece of ice. Whoosh! The surrounding black fog surged and tumbled, finally forming a black-robed man. Kiki, the plan is going smoothly, the black-robed man said in a low voice. Old Monster Shue, I helped you break through to the spirit transformation realm. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise? Lord Netherworld General, don't worry. I won't go back on what I promised you. When the time is right, I will help the Nether Hall unify the Xia country. The white-robed old man said slowly. The black-robed man laughed with satisfaction. This time, not only will the Nether Hall awaken, but even a guardian of the Saint sect will awaken. When the time comes, not only the Xia country, but the entire Tianan region will submit. The long-bearded old man was silent. When he heard the words guardian, his pupils shrank, and a trace of shock appeared on his face. The night was like water, and the moonlight was hazy. Tonight, there was no snow in the sky. The world was exceptionally quiet. The snow on the ground of the snow province was very thick. Ordinary people could step on it and reach their knees. Lin Xian walked quickly and did not leave any footprints. My weakness now is that my cultivation is too low. Lin Xian sighed. He was strong in all aspects, but he had not cultivated for long. His current cultivation was only at the third sky of the spiritual sea realm. The event this time made him realize that the geniuses on the hidden dragon list were not in vain. He had to catch up with them in cultivation to become a true expert. Lin Xian made a plan for the next 3 months in his heart. First, he would cultivate and look for treasures. If he only cultivated in seclusion, it would be difficult to raise his cultivation level within a year. Under normal circumstances, it would be good to raise his cultivation level from the third sky of the spiritual sea realm to the fourth sky of the spiritual sea realm. Therefore, Lin Xian needed to find some spiritual herbs. Second, he would cultivate inscriptions. In the Battle of the Inscription Tower in 3 months, he had to win. Only then could he enter the legendary Inscription Tower. Third, he would improve his sword intent. If he improved his sword intent to small success, his combat power would increase by several times. The Dragon Rocky city of the Feng province was at the border of the Xia country. It was 2 provinces away from the Snow province. He had to hurry there now, after making up his mind. Lin Xian could not help but speed up. He did not know that nearly 1,000 meters underground, a mass of green gas was surging rapidly. Chapter 192. Lin Xian traveled through the night at an extremely fast speed. When the sky brightened, he was already very far away from the snow-seeking sect. Those old guys definitely wouldn't be able to find him. Woochie woochie! The little white monkey jumped down from his shoulder, pointing at the ground and crying nonstop. What's wrong? Lin Xian didn't understand. The snow-white little monkey kept gesturing in a very lively manner. Lin Xian immediately understood. You're saying that the green-haired man is still alive? Lin Xian asked in a deep voice. Woochie, woochie. The little white monkey nodded with a look that said, Please believe me. Could he be underground? Lin Xian was puzzled, but he didn't dare to stay. Who knew if the green-haired man was still afraid of the little white monkey? Lin Xian didn't dare to joke around with his life. Using the wind thunder steps, Lin Xian quickly left. The vast, snowy mountain was white as far as the eye could see. The mountain was covered with tall and straight cedar trees that looked like long spears. There were many demonic beasts hiding among them. The demonic beasts in the Snow province were even more difficult to deal with. Firstly, they could hide in the thick snow. Secondly, these demonic beasts all knew ice elemental skills. For example, Lin Xian encountered an ice snake that suddenly jumped out from the ground and spat out a large amount of ice fog. This ice fog could not only slow down one's speed, but it also had a certain chance of freezing one into ice. Fortunately, Lin Xian's reaction was quick. With his outstanding soul power, he was able to move through the snowy mountains smoothly. Roar! A deafening roar caused the snow on the tree to fall. A 5-meter-tall snow-white demonic bear roared angrily and ruthlessly swiped at Lin Xian with its big claws. Swish! With a flash of sword light, Lin Xian landed on the treetop. Boom! The tall figure fell down with a loud crash, and the wound was immediately frozen by the cold. The little white monkey jumped down quickly. With a wave of its little paw, it took out a blue demonic crystal and ate it like candy. Then it jumped onto Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian was astonished. This was a rank 4 demonic beast. Its demonic crystal contained a terrifying amount of power, as well as a dense demonic qi. Even he did not dare to easily absorb it, but this snow-white little monkey was not affected in the slightest. Lin Xian still hadn't discovered anything strange about the little white monkey. Presumably, it hadn't grown up yet. Since you're willing to eat demon crystals, I'll let you eat to your heart's content. Lin Xian shuttled through the forest. His purple spirit eyes flickered as he quickly searched for demonic beasts in the snow. The beasts he found were all rank 5 and below. Every time he attacked, he only needed one strike. His speed was extremely fast. This was the Wind Emperor's sword. He was inspired by Yi Dao Lung and had a new understanding of the Wind Emperor's sword. Now, even if his sword speed was not as fast as Yi Dao Lung's, it would not be too far behind. For the next few days, Lin Xian hunted demonic beasts as he traveled. The demon crystals were all eaten by the little white monkey, but it didn't change at all. Lin Xian looked at it suspiciously, but the little white monkey actually showed a look of disdain. Wooji wooji! The little white monkey pointed at the demon crystal in its finger with a look of disdain. It looked very disgusted. Lin Xian. Damn monkey, it's good enough that you have something to eat. Lin Xian used his finger to flick its head, but the little white monkey nimbly dodged it. So fast. Lin Xian was surprised. The man and monkey continued on their journey as swift as lightning. Huff, huff. Unknowingly, a gust of wind blew. Snow flew all over the sky and hit their faces like knives. A black cave entrance appeared in front of them. Strong winds constantly gushed out from it. The cave entrance wasn't big. It was only 2 meters tall. The surface was covered with a thick layer of ice with all kinds of icicles. Wooji wooji! The little white monkey pointed at the cave and threw away all the demon crystals in its hand. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. He didn't need to think to know what the monkey meant. Fine, I'll go in and take a look. He swayed his body and ran towards the cave. The closer he got to the cave, the stronger the wind. When he was 10 meters away from the cave, the wind could almost blow away a martial artist in the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean realm. Lin Xian focused his eyes and stabbed out with the autumn scar sword, splitting wind style. The strong winds in front of him seemed to be torn in half, blowing to both sides. A vacuum appeared in the middle. Shoo! Lin Xian didn't hesitate and quickly flashed in and out. After he entered, the gale that had been torn apart gathered together once again, becoming even more violent. Lin Xian entered the cave and became careful. Purple spirit eyes flashed. He was like a ghost and didn't make any sound. On his shoulder, the little white monkey cooperated and didn't make any sound. It was dark inside the cave, and there was also a chill. For some reason, although the strong winds at the cave entrance were strong, there wasn't any wind in the cave. Under the observation of the purple spirit eyes, Lin Xian didn't find anything. He could only walk forward quickly. He could feel that he wasn't walking straight, but walking towards the ground. Because he had already walked a few hundred meters, there wasn't any mountain that was this wide. Finally, light appeared in front of him. Lin Xian became even more careful. He first used his soul power to check. After confirming that there was no danger, he walked over. This was a wide cave. The ground was filled with white bones, many of which were frozen in ice. There were no living creatures around. Lin Xian found that these bones were covered with teeth marks. This should be a beast cave. He walked around and found that there was another world in here. In an inconspicuous corner, Lin Xian found a small cave. He lowered his head and walked in. He was instantly stunned. Although this cave wasn't big, it was very clean. There weren't any bones or anything like that. In the center, there was a snow lotus that was blooming with light. Good stuff. Lin Xian's eyes lit up. He carefully identified it and finally confirmed that it was a 1,000-year-old snow lotus. If he used it to brew spirit wine, it would definitely speed up his cultivation. Thinking of this, he reached out to pick it. Wang! A ripple appeared, stopping Lin Xian. There's a restriction? Lin Xian's face darkened. The autumn scar, sword pierced out with the force of wind and thunder, instantly hitting the restriction. Puff! Lin Xian had used 80% of his strength in this attack, and he was able to break a hole in the restriction. However, the restriction was quickly restored. This isn't an ordinary restriction. It can absorb the surrounding spirit qi and automatically repair itself. Without the strength of a harmonious spirit realm, it's impossible to completely break it, Lord Alcohol said slowly. Lin Xian rubbed his chin, his eyes flashing. Woochie woochie! The snow-white monkey blinked its big eyes and cried out, eager to try. You... Lin Xian was suspicious. Woochie! Woochie! The snow-white monkey stretched out 2 fingers and pointed at the snow lotus. You want to split it equally with me? Lin Xian understood what it meant. The snow-white monkey nodded and patted its chest hard. It looked like it was telling Lin Xian not to worry about it. Lin Xian was speechless. This guy was actually trying to negotiate with him. In the end, he finally agreed. All right, as long as you can take it out, I'll give you half. The snow-white monkey was overjoyed. Its big eyes blinked, and its face was filled with joy. Lin Xian focused and stabbed out with the autumn scar sword, piercing a hole in the restriction. Whoosh! With a flash of white light, the snow-white monkey disappeared. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.